Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Naruto is attacked the day before he is supposed to take his Genin exam and loses the ability to speak. Part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. Demon. Come back, you little shit. At the monster. Naruto was running. Not for fun or to get exercise. No, he was running for his life. This wasn't like the other times he was chased. He was older and more experienced. He was supposed to take his Genin exam the next day and become a ninja. Leave me alone. I didn't do anything to you. Of course, yelling at them didn't make them stop. If anything, it spurred them to run faster. It didn't help that the civilians quit chasing him and were replaced with ninjas. 6 chunin this time. Hopefully he can get away. Damn a demon. Get back here. Naruto sighed. They just never learn. He was about to yell an insult back at his pursuers when his foot hit a wet patch on the branch he landed on. He slipped and crashed to the ground. All of the chunin soon surrounded him. About time, you little fucker. Time to make you pay for what you did. He drew his fist back and slammed it into the blonde's face. His head snapped back at the collision. The foot intercepted his downward descent. Naruto's body was flung forward, hitting the packed dirt. They proceeded to kick, punch, and stab the boy to their heart's content. The leader held a kunai above the boy's head, standing tall and proud. Now you die, demon scum. Please stop. The emotion in his voice caused the group to hesitate. I don't know what I did, but I'm sorry, please just don't hurt me anymore. The chunin looked amongst themselves. Were they really just beating a poor kid senseless? One of the group knelt down and offered his hand to the blonde. Smiling weakly, he reached for the hand. He missed the evil smirk. In a flash, a kunai pierced his hand, pinning him to the ground. Ha! Did you really think we would fall for that, fox? You know exactly what you did, demon. You killed our family. Our friends. Our loved ones. Tetsu, you aren't supposed to talk about that. What does it matter, Azaki? He will be dead in a minute. Tetsu swiveled back to face the demon. All our lives we have lived in fear of the Kyuubi. The Nine Tails. That fear ends today. He raised his kunai. I will free us from the demon. Naruto's eyes widened in horror as the kunai approached his neck. He watched in slow motion as it descended. The moment it touched his flesh, he was gone. The blonde awoke with a start. Once his momentary drowsiness left, he shot to his feet. Where was he? The surroundings were not familiar. The leaky pipes, the ominous sound of water dripping in the darkness, the damp concrete. It was unfamiliar, therefore not safe. His eyes widened in realization. He spun around looking for his attackers. This could be a sort of prison for him. A dark chuckle was heard from the darkness. Naruto wheeled in the direction of the laugh, eyes wide with fear, and approached cautiously. The steady dripping in the distance grew louder. After a short walk, he came face to face with a set of bars. He marveled at them as they traveled upwards for what seemed forever. How appropriate you call this place a prison, kid. It most certainly is. A pair of blood-red eyes appeared in the dark behind the never-ending bars. They gave off an aura of power. Who are you? Naruto tried to act brave, but when something has eyes the size of you, you tend to be a little freaked. I am many things: destroyer of mountains, maker of hurricanes, lord of the Biju. You might know me as the Kyuubi. Naruto's jaw dropped as the massive beast came into full view. Several stories tall and wearing 9 tails of red fur. A giant fox. You may also know me as the cause of your pain and suffering. I am the reason you are hated and despised in the village. The ignorance of civilians is truly pitiful. They believe that you and I are one and the same. They believe you are the 9-tailed fox. What? Naruto found it in him to speak. How can I be a demon? Kit. Do you know how I was defeated? The 4th Hokage killed you when you attacked Konoha. The fox glared at Naruto. Wrong. A mere pest like you humans could not hope to kill a tailed beast. No, he used a seal. By sacrificing his life, he was able to seal me into a newborn baby. I became a part of this child's life and he became a part of mine, for better or for worse. If the kid dies, I will as well. Of course I'll be reborn after a small period of time, but it will not be a pleasant experience. Why are you telling me this? He was confused. If you are imprisoned in a kid, then why can I see you? You truly are stupid. Hey. Kit. I was sealed in a newborn baby on October 10th, 13 years ago. Wait, that's the day I was. Naruto fell to his knees. Kyuubi growled in delight. You see now, don't you? You were the baby I was sealed into. And then no. You're lying. Kit, I will not lie to you. I may weave my words in riddles and mystery, or refuse to answer. Speaky will never lie. Not that you would trust a demon anyhow. Why? Why what, Kit? Why was I chosen to be the baby you were sealed into? That's a good question. You are obviously unfit to be a Jinchuriki, a container of a tailed beast. You are weak and lack the willpower to better yourself. As for your question, I do not know. Perhaps you were the closest available kid in the area. Or perhaps you had no parents of your own. Shut up. What did you say, Kit? I said shut up. Tears flowing down Naruto's face as he looked into the fox's gaze. I can't believe that you are here. This is some messed up genjutsu or something. You aren't real. Kit the fox bared its fangs and growled. I assure you. I am very real. Where you think your incredible chakra reserves came from? Me. Where did your accelerated healing factor come from? Me. Why aren't you dead yet? Me. Trust me when I say I am physically ill by the thought of being inside of you, a weakling. Without me you would have died 10 years ago when the mobs first started attacking you. I only saved your pathetic excuse for a life to keep my own, even if it is with scum. Naruto kept his glare up. You piece of shit. Even Kyuubi was slightly taken aback by the blonde's language. Never before had he cursed with such rage, with such venom in his words. Just let me die then. You can be free and I won't have to deal with this shit anymore. I'm tired of being treated like crap. I am tired of being a worthless piece of trash in everyone else's eyes. I want to be normal, but since that can't happen, just kill me now. Never. Never in the long existence of the fox's life did he think he would reach a day where a mere kid would ask for death and where he would refuse. I will not. Contrary to what many believe in, I am not a soulless monster. I would never raise a claw willingly against a kid. No matter how annoying they may seem. Naruto looked ready to scream again, but a roar from Kyuubi kept him quiet. Since you seem so hellbent on dying, I will take away something of yours. One of the few things you cherish. Whenever you feel like you can truly become strong, I will judge to see if you are worthy of having it. Naruto tried to ask what it was he took away, but the Kyuubi was vanishing before his eyes. Now that we have met, you need only think, and I will hear you. It will be much easier to communicate without having to drag you here. A flash of light later, Kyuubi was gone. The Noha hospital, alive, but we have never seen something like this. It won't let us, Lord Hokage. It's not repairing. Naruto opened his eyes only to shut them again in the presence of a blinding light. A few moments later, had turned it off. When he cracked his eyes open again, he saw a familiar figure standing before him. Hello there, Naruto. Glad to see you are doing better. Naruto nodded. Tell me, how are you feeling? The blonde opened his mouth to reply. No sound came out. He shook his head and tried again, only to receive another failure. He started panicking. His voice was gone. But how could it miss me, kid? The blonde flew out of his hospital bed and onto the ground, looking around in a panicked manner. Kyuubi? Yes, kid. Now stop flailing about before you give this old man a heart attack, not that I would mind. Naruto? Are you alright? The old man was kneeling at his side in a moment. Naruto shook his head. The Hokage couldn't help but wrap the poor kid in a hug. The shaking of his body told him all he needed to know. Naruto, I know you are a smart boy, so you understand what I am about to say. After Anbu found you unconscious and apprehended those involved, they brought you here for medical treatment. Do you understand so far? The boy nodded. After your wounds were healed, one of the medics found that your vocal cords had been rendered useless by a dark chakra. They tried to heal them, but the muscles wouldn't respond to their attempts. I'm afraid you won't be able to speak again. The blonde stiffened. This is what you took? Yes. Unless you have the will to live, your voice means nothing. Your opinion means nothing. You mean nothing. Give it back. I want to be able to speak again. It's not fair. Life isn't fair, kid. Deal with the consequences. Naruto. The Hokage shook the boy out of his stupor. The blonde looked up at the old man he considered one of his friends. Good, I thought I lost you. Now I know it is a bit late, but if you would like, since you are all healed up, you may go to the academy. Today are your Genin exams. Naruto nodded slightly. He would like to go still. Great. Now let me write a letter for Iruka and I'll let you go. The Hokage left the room and Naruto felt sad. He was always known as the loud and obnoxious boy. Maybe, just maybe, he had a chance to change his image. To be more than just an annoyance. The door opened to reveal the Hokage with the letter in hand. Here you are, Naruto. You better hurry though, the examination is about to begin. He held the letter R for the blonde. Naruto took it and left quickly. As he was running down the hall, here's inside. It was a sad day indeed to see a mere boy attacked by Konoha ninja. Naruto was standing at the classroom door, staring at it. He wanted to go in. He wanted to be a ninja, but the kids in the room were hateful. It might be better to just know. He had to do it. Deciding all finished, he pushed the door open. Everyone turned to stare at him. Looks of hate and disgust. Iruka smiled. Hello, Naruto. Glad you decide to drop by. You missed a first. He was cut off when a letter was handed to him. Iruka opened and read it. His face dropped into a frown. I'm sorry that happened, Naruto. Please take a seat. I will speak with you before you take your test. Hey Iruka-sensei, why does Naruto get to stay? He was late. A pink-haired girl yelled out, a few others muttering in agreement. Iruka looked at Naruto, asking a silent question. Naruto stiffened and nodded slowly. He really didn't want to be the center of attention over the incident, but it might keep the others off of his back for a little while. Naruto was attacked by ninja last night and was in the hospital until just a while ago. He had lost the ability to speak due to the ninja, and it cannot be fixed by any of our doctors. Now if you are done, Miss Haruno, I would like to finish what I was saying. The other students gave him looks of pity, some just smirked. Naruto toned them out and set his head down. An hour later Ruka was calling kids down for the exam. The blonde didn't even realize half of the students had gone already. He laid his head back down, but a finger poked his shoulder. Naruto ignored it, but it poked him again. The blonde turned towards the offender. Kiba was staring at him. Is it true what Iruka-sensei said? You really can't talk anymore? Naruto nodded slightly. Man, that sucks. Do you know any sign language? Naruto shook his head. Troublesome. Well, you don't have to answer any more questions in class now. Shikamaru, sitting next to Kiba, sighed. I wish I never had to answer questions in class. Before long they too were called down, until Naruto was the last one in class. Iruka came into the class and looked up at the boy. Come on Naruto, let's give you a hit I ate. Naruto smiled and left his chair for the exam room, Iruka in tow. Once inside the classroom, Iruka placed a hand on the young boy's shoulder, halting him. Naruto, how did this happen? Naruto pointed to his throat and Iruka mentally smacked himself for forgetting so quickly. You can write on the chalkboard if you like. Naruto nodded and walked up to the board and began writing. Iruka turned from sad to angry and disbelief. I was attacked by 6 Konoha chunin yesterday. Before one of them could kill me, I passed out. When I woke up, I was inside a prison-like place. After exploring it, I met Kyuubi. He told me about how he was sealed inside me when I was a baby, and that's why I was hated. I told him to kill me so I didn't have to be hated anymore, but he refused. Instead he took away my ability to speak. Until I give up this mentality, I won't be allowed to speak another word. Iruka was angry at both himself and the villagers. This boy was treated badly because of what he had no control over. Worse yet, he now knew about the Kyuubi. If he asks the Hokage about it, Naruto might never speak again because they already knew. He raised his head at the sound of chalk scratching the board. Why did the 4th Hokage pick me? Iruka stared at the question a long time before answer. Naruto, I don't know why you were picked. If I did, I would tell you. The blonde seemed to buy it and nodded. After a second he started writing again. Did you know my parents? Why did he have to ask these questions? Iruka could very well just tell the boy and hope he doesn't get mad, but an order is an order. No, I did not. I'm sure they were wonderful people to have such a wonderful son. Naruto couldn't help but smile at what Iruka said. He continued to write. So can I be a ninja or what? Iruka laughed at the boy. I'm sure you will be, but first is the test. Let's erase this first, then we can get started. He gave an eraser to the boy and they began cleaning the board. Once all was finished, Iruka turned to Naruto and grew stern. Okay Naruto. I want you to do a kawarimi, a henge, and a bunshin. Do those 3 and you'll pass. Naruto's face fell. He couldn't do a bunshin. He reached for the chalk and hastily wrote. I can't do a bunshin. You can't do a bunshin. Naruto shook his head. I'm sorry then Naruto, I can't pass you unless. He was interrupted by the sound of frantic writing. But it is not my fault. The old man said that I have so much chakra that doing a normal bunshin just kills it. He taught me how to do a different type of clone though. Please let me do that instead. Iruka raised his eyebrows at this. What kind of clone? Page bunshin no jutsu. Iruka's eyes widened. Naruto can make a shadow clone. If you can do kawarimi, a henge, and make 2 shadow clones, I will let you pass, but only after talking to the Hokage. I don't want to find out you lied and actually stole the forbidden scroll or something. Naruto nodded happily. He took a deep breath and switched himself with Iruka. But Naruto. Next to henge. Naruto transformed into Iruka. Iruka inspected the henge closely before nodding. Very well done. Finally the bunch cage bunshin. Naruto closed his eyes and focused his chakra. He called out the jutsu's name in his mind. Suddenly 20 Narutos appeared, scaring Iruka. Naruto, that's incredible. He turned his gaze to his sheepish student. You deserve this. He handed the blonde a hit I ate. Naruto's eyes widened as he held it, gazing at its beauty. He looked up to his teacher with tears in his eyes. Iruka smiled and hugged his student. He pulled away after a minute and patted his head. Now don't forget to be here tomorrow at 9 AM for team selection tomorrow. It would be a shame if you missed that after becoming a ninja. Naruto nodded. Today was the start of a new life. He was a ninja. Naruto awoke with a yawn and a smile. The smile was new to his mornings. Why you ask? It was because today he was officially a ninja of Konoha. His journey to become the Hokage starts here. After a quick breakfast and a cold shower, he was on his way to the academy, ready to find out who his teammates would be. He thought it over during his walk. There was Kiba, the loud mouth with an attitude. He was a cool guy. Shikamaru had brains, but was really lazy. Hinata was really hard to read. She was very any and stuttered a lot, but she is a Hyuga. That means their powerful fighting style. Ino was pretty strong compared to the other girls in class, but she was still weak. Sakura was cute, but she was just like Ino. Both were the co-leaders of the Sasuke fan club. Then comes Sasuke. He was the strongest in class, but was completely full of himself. Arrogant, ignorant, and broody. Chaoji was a nice guy and strong, but he was always eating and rarely paid attention during class. Shino was the opposite of Kiba. Very smart and very quiet. He only ever spoke when necessary, but was nearly as smart as Shikamaru. Very good observations for a kid. Naruto stumbled. Stop doing that. I'm never going to get used to this. Ha. Poor kid. Anyways, I actually have something to tell you before you are a part of a team. Whoever your sensei is, ignore them. They will not teach you due to hatred of me. I will teach you every night. What? Don't get the wrong idea, kid. I just can't have my container be useless. Otherwise you will die. That means I die, and the rebirthing process, as I have said before, is unpleasant to say the least. I guess you know, you are being awfully nice. What is it you want? I told you, I want a strong container. You are more stupid than I first realized. Hey. I can hear you saying that. You were supposed to. Naruto huffed and refocused on getting to the academy, only to realize he was in front of it. He made his way to his classroom. Upon opening the door, several students already there had their jaws drop at the sight of him. How was he a ninja? The blonde made his way to his seat, with only himself in his row at the moment. Hey Naruto. How did you pass the exam? He turned to face an angry Sakura. How she passed was beyond him. He pointed to his throat. She glared for a moment longer before remembering that he couldn't speak. Her face flushed. I'm sorry. I forgot. He waved his hand like it didn't matter. Sakura went back to her seat, thoroughly embarrassed. Naruto went back to his earlier thoughts. So Kyuubi, what do you think about my future teammates? I couldn't care less about the other kids. Humor me. The one with the bugs or the lazy one would make a good strategist. The one with the Byakugan of the dog lover would make a good tracker. Ideally, you would want them. Before Naruto could reply, he was punched. The blonde grabbed his cheek and whipped his head towards the offending party. Geez, I thought you were dead. You weren't moving or anything. Naruto glared at Kiba. Sorry, dude. Naruto sighed and turned towards the front, Iruka now in class. Welcome back, Genin. This will be your last day in the academy. From this point on you will be ninja of Konoha. Do well, gain strength, and become the best ninja you can be. Some of the students cheered. Now, you still have to be here for a while longer. I will start with team placement. Team 1 is. Iruka went through the teams one by one. Naruto wasn't paying much attention until he heard his name. Team 7 is Naruto Uzumaki, Sakura Haruno, and Sasuke Uchiha. Sakura cheered at hearing she would be on the same team as the Uchiha. You got the worst two out of the bunch. Your luck stinks, kid. Shut up, furball. I know that. What did you call me? Naruto toned out the fox as Iruka was finishing naming teams. Any questions? Good. Your instructors will be here with you shortly. I'm proud to say that this was one of the best classes I have taught. Make Konoha proud. Iruka was about to leave when Naruto shot up from his seat. Naruto. The blonde ran to the board and grabbed a piece of chalk. Thank you. Iruka wasn't ashamed to admit he teared up a bit. Naruto wasn't the strongest or the smartest student he had, but the bond they had formed made him seem more like a son than a student. Iruka knelt down and hugged Naruto, to the shock of the others. You are very welcome. His voice was quiet so as not to be overheard. I better hear about how you are the most amazing ninja ever, okay? If not, I'll find you and drag you back here. Naruto broke safe from the hug and nodded with a smile. Iruka stood up and took one last look at the class before leaving. After Naruto returned to his seat and Kiba asking him a bunch of questions, the classroom door opened up. A woman with red eyes and a man with a cigarette walked in. I'm Yuhi Kurenai. Teammate, come with me. The red-eyed woman left Shino, Hinata, and Kiba in tow. The man with the cigarette took a long drag before speaking. I'm Asuma Sarutobi. Team 10 is with me. Ino, Chaoji, and Shikamaru all left. It went like that for the next 20 minutes, Jounin senseis coming by to pick up their newly formed team. Soon it was just Naruto, Sakura, and Sasuke. Where is he? Sakura screamed after sitting still for an hour and a half. Can I eat the banshee? No. You're no fun. He is a Jounin. He probably has other responsibilities. He will be here. Naruto looked over at the Uchiha. He was being as broody as ever. As much as he hated it, he would like to know more about his teammates. They would be working together for a while. He moved to the blackboard, gaining the attention of the others. It would be a good idea to learn more about each other. This way we can be more effective as a team. That's a good idea. Sasuke, tell me about yourself. Naruto facepalmed. That's not what he meant. Sasuke actually smirked a little at this. Naruto. Sasuke spoke to him. You start. The blonde shrugged and began writing. I am decent with ninjutsu. I don't know many. I can only break a genjutsu, but due to my massive amount of chakra, I cannot perform them. My taijutsu is passable. I know nothing in kenjutsu, but I would like to pick it up someday. What do you mean by massive? Sakura was kind of interested at this point. Almost as much as the Hokage. Liar. No genin has more chakra than Sasuke. Naruto just shrugged his shoulders and began writing again. Then go ask the Hokage. He will tell you the same thing. Previously, Sasuke had no interest in the blonde. Now after learning a bit about him, he found Naruto rather interesting. I have a great deal of ninjutsu at my disposal. My taijutsu is above average, but my genjutsu is terrible. I have no skill in kenjutsu. Naruto nodded in appreciation at Sasuke. Perhaps it wouldn't be too terrible to have him on the team. He turned to Sakura. She glared at the blonde before sighing. I know very little of ninjutsu. My taijutsu is average. My genjutsu and kenjutsu are non-existent. Naruto frowned and began writing again. You have a small pool of chakra, so genjutsu should come easier to you than most. Why do you have no skill in it? Sasuke held back a smile as Sakura got angry. What do you mean? That's rude, Naruto. I'm making an observation. You should ask our sensei about genjutsu when you have some free time. I think you would do well in it. Sakura flushed before turning away. Whatever, you idiot. What about me? The blonde turned toward Sasuke. What should I learn? If you could give Sakura advice from just her skill level, you should be able to do the same for me. Naruto arched an eyebrow. The Uchiha wanted him to help. Maybe he fell asleep while waiting for his sensei, and this is just a dream. Either way, he began to write. From what you have said, I think chakra control is what you should focus on. You have a big pool of chakra, but can't use it efficiently. You waste more than you should. That will let you use more ninjutsu during a fight. Sasuke nodded. It was a fair assessment. Sakura, however, took it as an insult towards her beloved Sasuke. What do you mean, idiot? Sasuke is the best at everything. As she continued her rant, Naruto cleaned the chalkboard. A man with silver hair walked in and stared at the scene. They all turned to face him. My first impression of you is you are all stupid. Meet me on the roof in 5 minutes. He left via Shunshin, a swirl of leaves in his wake. 5 minutes later, the group sat atop the academy roof. Let's start with introducing ourselves. Likes, dislikes, hobbies, dreams, goals for the future and whatnot. Sensei, why don't you go first to show us how it's done? Sakura sat at attention, ready to make a good impression. Very well. I am Hada Kakashi. My likes I can't tell you. My dislikes I can't tell you that either. I have no hobbies. As for dreams, I never really thought about it. The group sweat dropped at their sensei. Pinky, you are first. I'm Sakura Haruno. I like she blushes and looks at Sasuke. My dislikes are Ino and Naruto. My hobbies are she giggles at Sasuke. My dreams are she looks at Sasuke and squeals. Okay Brady, you're up. My name is Sasuke Uchiha. My likes are few and my dislikes are many. I have no hobbies and my dream is to kill a certain man. That was depressing. Bondi, your turn. Naruto opened his mouth to speak but quickly closed it. He almost forgot he couldn't. Don't be shy. I won't bite. Kakashi sensei. Sakura fit the attention of their teacher. Naruto can't speak. He was attacked by ninja and lost the ability to. Kakashi's visible eye widened a bit before returning to its normal state. I see, well, that's fine. Tomorrow meet at training ground 7 at 6 AM. You will take your test then. What? But sensei, we already took our Genin test. Sakura seemed angry. That was just to weed out those who had no chance at becoming Genin. This test will determine if you can actually become Genin. Kakashi stood up. Oh, and don't eat anything, you'll vomit if you do. Kakashi disappeared in a swirl of leaves. The Hokage Tower. Lord Hokage, you can't really allow that boy to become a ninja. The Hokage was in the middle of a meeting with the elders. He really hated this. I've told you once and I will tell you again. Naruto shows great skill as a ninja and would benefit Konoha greatly. Now leave. I have work to do. The elders bowed before shuffling out of the office. A few minutes later, his secretary poked her head in the door. Lord Hokage, Uzumaki is here to see you. Hiruzen smiled. Send him in. He could always be cheered up by the young man. The blonde walked in shortly after and made his way to the seat opposite of the Hokage. Good to see you, Naruto. Now that you're a Genin, I'm sure you will have my hat in no time. The boy smiled. The Hokage grabbed a blank piece of paper and a pen for him to use. Naruto scribbled for a bit before passing the paper back. Did you know that Kyuubi is inside of me? The old man nearly had a heart attack. Who told you this? Kyuubi did. He is kind of a jerk. As disastrous as the situation was, he couldn't help but chuckle. Naruto just called the Lord of Demons a jerk. He sighed and lowered his head. Yes, Naruto, I knew. I never told you because you were too young to know. I didn't think you would be able to handle it. I don't like that you kept a secret from me, but it doesn't matter now. I have a question that Kyuubi said you can answer. Did you know my parents? Hiruzen was getting nervous. Hopefully the fox didn't tell him who they were if he knew. Yes, I did know them. Can you tell me their names? I'm sorry Naruto, but I can't tell you that. Your father asked me to wait until you were 18 or became a jounin before I tell you. I can't betray his request. Naruto stared at the Hokage, sadness in his eyes. That's okay I guess. I did want to ask something else though. Can you help me with my speaking problem? I can't tell people anything unless I write it down and carrying around paper and pens would be annoying. The Hokage smiled. I think I know just the thing. Naruto walked into his favorite place in Konoha. Ichiraku Ramen. The best food in the world was served here daily and Naruto was thankful for it. Naruto. Welcome back. We haven't seen you here in a few days and we were getting worried. Ichiraku's daughter, smiled as the blonde took his usual seat. I see you passed your exam as well. Now you are a ninja. Congratulations. Ichiraku walked over to the pair. He always enjoyed having the blonde around. He made the place more lively. One bowl on the house for the young man. So what will it be today? Naruto reached to his back and unstrapped a small blackboard, courtesy of the Hokage, and a pack of chalk from a pocket. Mizo sounds good. The pair raised their eyebrows at the blonde. I'll get right on it then. Ichiraku disappeared into the back of the restaurant. Naruto. Why are you writing on a blackboard? After a few minutes and several times erasing the board, he finally told the two his story. That's terrible. You won't be able to speak again. Am was crying. Her father patted her back comfortingly. A few more minutes flew by and the blonde was on his way home. Upon reaching his destination he quickly flopped into bed, ready for some well-deserved rest. No rest for you kid, we will be training tonight. Come on. There's no way I can train in this condition. I'll drop to the ground after an hour. We can start tomorrow. We will be training in your mind. You can sleep to let your body recover, but you will be learning what I can teach you tonight. Ugh fine, he's late. Are you sure I can't eat the banshee? You cannot eat her period. Why is he always late? We'll see. I look forward to it. Team 7 sat in the training grounds as it approached 8 AM. Sakura was ranting and Sasuke was broody as usual, but not as broody as he used to be. Naruto. The blonde turned toward Sasuke. Do you know why sensei is always late? Naruto shook his head. If he knew he would put a stop to it. He could have slept in and learned more from Kyuubi. Yo. Kakashi appeared in front of the three. You're late. Calm down. Anyways let's begin the test shall we? He pulled out a clock and set it on a tree stump. You have until noon to take these from me. He held up a pair of bells if you don't get them by noon, you will not be allowed to eat lunch. At the mention of lunch, both Sakura's and Sasuke's stomach growled. Naruto's did not. You ate before you came here? Kakashi inquired the blonde. He took a moment to write down something before showing it to his sensei. I'd rather throw up than be hungry. Besides, you didn't order us to. Kakashi smiled. You saw through it. Good job. Saw through what? Kakashi ignored Sakura and continued. After lunch you will have until 5 PM to collect the bells. If you don't have the bells then, you all fail. Any questions? Sakura spoke once again. Why are there only 2 bells? Ah yes. Well only 2 of you will pass. The one without a bell will be sent back to the academy. Good luck. Kakashi started the timer and flashed a good 50 feet away. He pulled out an orange book and began reading. Kit. I'm busy. Listen. This test isn't what it seems. There are no genin teams with only 3 people. All of them have 4. Sasuke and Sakura sped into the trees while Naruto stood there conversing with a fox. Naruto. Do you plan on hiding from me? Naruto shook his head clear and stared at his sensei. He shrugged. Well then let's see what you got. Naruto shrugged again and took a stance. What's that stance? I have never seen it before. After another shrug, Kakashi gave up asking questions. Naruto approached him with speed ready to punch Kakashi in the gut. Kakashi made to block as the hand was withdrawn and replaced with a foot to his side. A feint. Kakashi stepped back allowing the foot to pass by harmlessly. Naruto kept off the ground, keeping his momentum up and attacked with the other leg. Kakashi blocked effortlessly and pushed the blonde back. Naruto was about to swing his fist again when Kyuubi's words rang in his head. Smirking, he leapt back and walked away from the copy ninja. Said ninja stared at the boy in confusion before turning back to his book. He searched the trees for his teammates. He understood what Kyuubi meant now. The test was supposed to make them fight against each other when in reality they should work together to get the bells. Teamwork. He mentally made a note to thank the fox. Soon he came across Sakura hiding in a bush and sighed. This would really suck. He knelt down and poked her shoulder. Ahhh. She turned around to find her attacker, only to see Naruto sitting there writing instead. What the hell Naruto? Why would you do that? I figured out what the test actually is. If you want to pass, come with me and find Sasuke. If not, we will all be at the academy tomorrow." She glared at the blonde, but stood up anyways to show she was ready. Naruto smiled and started running in the direction Sasuke had gone. A few minutes later, they found their teammate in a tree. "Sasuke." He looked down to see his teammate standing there. Naruto said he figured out the test, and if you want to pass, get down here now. Sasuke jumped down from the tree and sighed. "Let's hear it." Kakashi was happy. He was reading his book and his team was nowhere to be found. The peace and quiet of it all was almost serene. He could easily take a nap right here. That is, if he wasn't carrying the bells for the test. He would need to remember to come back here to nap sometime. Sensei. Now Kakashi had heard some weird things in his time. Requests and death threats were often thrown his way. However, he never expected a pink-haired genin, wielding a kunai, to charge at him telling him to die. This was a first for the copy ninja. He sidestepped the lunge, only to block a punch from Sasuke. He threw Sasuke off balance and turned back to the pinket. She lunged again and he easily disarmed her. Naruto came up for a kick from behind his sensei, but his sensei ducked. Naruto jumped back as Sasuke was finishing his hand seals. Pain. Kakaku no Jutsu. A large ball of fire erupted from his mouth and raced towards Kakashi. When it connected, it exploded, scorching the ground and making the genin back up. Age Bunshin no Jutsu. 30 Narutos filled the field and rushed into the smoke. Sasuke and Sakura were both stunned at the amount of clones Naruto had made. And he didn't even seem fazed. The bell rang farther off in the clearing, signaling it was noon. "Well, good try, kids. Perhaps after lunch you can try again." Kakashi walked out of the smoke unharmed. He felt a poke on his shoulder and turned to see Naruto. "Yes, Naruto." Naruto held up his hand and opened it, revealing 2 bells. Kakashi stared at them and then at his side before sighing. With a smile he congratulated the blonde. "Good job, Naruto. Now who will the second bell go to?" Naruto looked at the bells and back at his teammates. Sakura looked scared and Sasuke confident. Naruto tossed both bells to his teammates, which stunned them. He had left out that part and hoped he would be the one to reach the bells first. "I can't leave my teammates behind. No matter what." Kakashi smiled proudly at the boy and ruffled his hair. "A good answer. Remember, a ninja who breaks the rules is trash, but those who abandon their comrades are worse than trash. Now Naruto, how did you figure out the point of the test?" "Me and my pet fox worked it out." What did you just call me?" Kakashi froze for a second. "Your pet fox?" "Yep. Me and Caillou." "I see, well, congratulations on becoming genin. Meet here tomorrow at 9 AM for our first mission." Kakashi disappeared in a shunshin, leaving the 3 to themselves. Naruto, he turned to Sakura. "Thank you. I think if you wouldn't have told us your plan, we would have been sent back to the academy." Naruto waved it off like it was nothing and left the training grounds for his home. "Mindscape, I'm ready, Kyuubi." "You think you are?" "I know I am. With it I can grow stronger even quicker. Perhaps I will give you the trial if you think you are ready. It will not be easy, and failure means death." "Well, I'll have to finish quickly so we can still do some training tonight." You would have thought all of Konoha had burst into flames based off of the size of the grin Kyuubi was wearing. Morning came and the blonde felt like crap. Everything ached and he was sure his eyes were made of fire. After somehow managing to pull himself out of bed, Naruto glanced at his body. At least he survived. It almost wasn't worth going through what Kyuubi made him do. After preparing for their first official mission as ninja, he dragged himself to the meeting spot for his teammates. "You're late, Naruto. If you eat her, I will set you free." "Deal." Sakura stalked over to Naruto, fist raised, ready to smash his head in. When he dodged her punch she was surprised. When he punched her back she was shocked. Sakura flew back a couple of feet before falling to the ground. "Why did you punch me? I'm tired of you treating me like a punching bag. If you aren't prepared to be hit again, do not attack me." Sakura managed to get to her feet, albeit shakily. Sasuke just watched the wild scene play out with mild amusement. "Ah, young love." They turned to face their sensei, now standing with them in the clearing. "Sensei, I will vomit if you say that again. The only possible way I could date her is if she became Hokage and forced me to. Actually, I might prefer being a missing nin at that point." Kakashi sweat dropped. Sakura looked about ready to cry and Sasuke was barely holding back laughter. "Okay then, let's head to the Hokage Tower. We got ourselves another mission today." His team noticeably perked up at the mention of a mission. They happily ran after their sensei as he disappeared towards the tower. 1 month later, "If we get one more D rank, I will jump out this window and have Sasuke burn my body of the way down so I can't be regenerated." The Hokage stared at the blonde who was crouched on the windowsill, Sasuke standing nearby. If it weren't for the fact that the blonde was suggesting suicide, he would have laughed. Alright. I believe you are ready for a C rank. What do you think, Kakashi?" "I believe they are indeed ready, Lord Hokage." "Very well then. Your mission will be to protect a bridge builder while escorting him to Wave Country. The Hokage tossed a scroll to Kakashi, who began reading it immediately. You will stay with him until the bridge is complete. Tazuna, you may enter. The group turned towards the door to see a drunken, middle-aged man stumble in. What's this? I hired ninja, not 3 brats. I assure you Tazuna, this team is more than capable of completing the mission and I will provide support. Whatever. Okay team, meet at the North Gate in 2 hours. Pack for a 2-week journey. The 3 nodded in the affirmative and left for their homes. 2 hours later, all of Team 7 had arrived at the gate, both Tazuna and, surprisingly enough, Kakashi were waiting for them. Right on time, can head out now. They took one last look at Konoha before stepping outside the gates. Mr. Tazuna, sir. A few minutes into their walk, Sakura tried to start a conversation with their client. Are there any ninjas in the wave? No Sakura, that's why he hired us. If there were, he would have hired them. Kakashi stated with looking up from his book. She bowed her head stiffly and continued in silence. Hey boy, why do you have a chalkboard on your back? An hour into their journey, Naruto looked at Kakashi so he wouldn't have to answer himself. He lost the ability to speak after being attacked by ninja. Luckily he didn't lose any more than that. I see the bridge builder seemed to furrow his brows before sighing. Nightfall came and went, and once again the team was on the road and ready to fulfill their duties. Naruto felt something. He was sure what, but it was off. Perhaps now was the best time to use Kyuubi's gift. He rolled up his sleeve revealing a fox tattoo, red and black and wearing 9 tails. Kakashi's eye widened as Naruto bit his thumb and rubbed it on the tattoo. Guchiyus no Jutsu. After a small puff of smoke, the group stared at the creatures in front of them and their jaws dropped. Minus Sasuke. He was just staring wide-eyed. A dark gray fox with blue eyes and 3 tails and a snow-white fox with green eyes sporting 2 tails appeared. Both of them came up to Naruto's knees. Before Kakashi could ask, the white one spoke. What is it you request Master Naruto? A brief moment of silence later, the gray one bowed and the white one moved closer to narrate before speaking. Her voice was surprisingly pleasant. At Master Naruto's request, Shiki and myself will assist you on your mission. Shiki is an excellent tracker. I'm afraid I do not stand out in the skill department, but I shall serve as Master Naruto's voice for the remainder of his life. I am Ritsuko. A pleasure to make your acquaintance Tazuna. According to my master, Haddock is very late, Sakura is a fangirl, and Sasuke is broody. Would you please explain to me what a fangirl is? Master Naruto is rather reluctant to explain. Kakashi's eye twitched. Excuse me Ritsuko, but why exactly are you here? 1 month ago, my master signed the Fox contract. I am a summon. He summoned me, therefore I am here. Kakashi was hesitant, but nodded anyways. Sakura however was not so happy. Did you call me a fangirl? Yes. Can you tell me exactly what that entails? Sakura turned to Naruto. He was looking around at the scenery, avoiding her gaze. Damn you Naruto. She charged at the blonde before being stopped by Ritsuko. Her fangs bared at the young girl, making her squeak. If you attack my master again, I have permission to kill you. Do not test me. A brief flare of Kai later and the fox returned to Naruto's side, leaving a stunned Sakura. If we are all done here, let's keep moving. Shiki returned after an hour of tracking and returned with a yip once again, scaring Sakura to death. Master, I have returned. Up ahead, nearly 4 mics down the road, there are puddles on the ground. They gave off a minuscule amount of Kai, but were otherwise non-responsive to myself. Naruto nodded and Shiki dispelled. Well now, this seems to be interesting. Kakashi I smiled and returned to reading his book. Let's continue. Down the road they went and Tazuna seemed to be sweating profusely. Is something wrong Tazuna? Kakashi I smiled at their client. Then nothing is wrong. I'm fine. Alright then. Soon they approached the puddles that Shiki pointed out. They all walked by, unaware of the problem that was there. As they passed the puddles, 2 dark figures rose from them. They launched chains from the gauntlets on their hands and wrapped Kakashi in them. The genin turned in time to see Kakashi ripped to shreds. Kakashi-sensei. Sakura screamed. Sakura, guard Tazuna. Sasuke, you and me can deal with them. After a second of confusion, the 2 realized that Ritsuko was conveying Naruto's orders. 1 down 1 ninja charged. 3 to go. The other followed suit. Sasuke took up a stance with a kunai in each hand. Naruto summoned another fox, this one dark red with blue eyes. 4 tails adorned its hind and it was a foot taller than Ritsuko. After a bow and glance to Naruto it charged at one of the ninja. The other passed by the fox and lunged at Sasuke. He blocked the strike with a kunai and jumped back a step. Kaiten. Kakaku no Jutsu. A large fireball raced from his mouth and towards the enemy ninja. Suiton. Sureikade no Jutsu. A wall of water rushed up from the ground to meet the flame, dousing it completely. Suiton. Mizu no Nami no Jutsu. The wall of water came down in a wave over Sasuke washing him back towards Sakura. Naruto's fox was dancing with the other. Biting and scratching before leaping away, infuriating the ninja to no end. Suiton. Mizu no Nami no Jutsu. A wall of water rose from the ground to douse the fox. Gyuden. Kei's no Bakuden. The air around the fox compressed before expanding rapidly, blowing the water back over the ninja. The ninja dodged by leaping to the right, only to find a fox at his throat. The fox latched onto the ninja's throat and began tearing savagely. The ninja punched the fox a few times, each weaker than the last, before he fell limp. Sasuke was having a hard time. The ninja wasn't going down, and he kept dodging his jutsu. Naruto stepped in and it helped, but the ninja still outclassed them. Sakura even took to throwing shuriken at the enemy when there was an opening. Sasuke was beaten badly. Naruto wasn't nearly as bad, mostly due to his accelerated healing and his late start in the battle. The ninja loomed over Sasuke as Naruto was on the ground near Sakura. He raised a kunai to strike but was soon tackled by a fox. The fox pushed the ninja into a tree and, in his momentary stun, dragged Sasuke to his teammates. "What do you suggest, master? I am too tired from my other fight to be very useful here. It has been too long since I was in combat." Naruto waved his hand. "Of course, master. Summon me again if you have need for me." The fox disappeared in a puff of smoke. "You sent away your little friend. That wasn't very smart. Now I can take you out without any." A thunk was heard and the ninja slowly fell over, a kunai sticking out of his head. "Well, I think you all did splendidly for your first real fight." Kakashi jumped down from the trees. "Kakashi-sensei. I thought you died." Sakura started crying. "Simple Kawarimi. Oh, wanted to see how you fared against real ninja that were trying to kill you. I'm proud that you did so well, especially against those two." Sasuke raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean, sensei?" They were known as the Demon Brothers, B-ranked missing nin from the mist. They specialize in assassination and fighting as a pair. The fact you held your own and even killed one is amazing. Most genin can't say that they have faced a missing nin and lived. That doesn't mean you should let this go to your head. This was most likely luck. Without Naruto's summons, you very well could have died before I could help. That brings me to my next question. Kakashi rounded on Tazuna with a glare. "Those were no bandits. You didn't tell us you were being hunted by ninja. This mission is at least a B rank. You put myself and my team in danger. They very well could have lost their lives because you only paid for a C rank. I have half a mind to turn away right now and leave you here. Please." Tazuna fell to his knees and pleaded with Kakashi. "Please don't leave me here. We barely had enough money for a C rank. My country is very poor and we had no other choice. Geto has taken control of all shipping ports in and out of our country. We are dying and my bridge is the only thing that will pull us out of poverty." "Geto?" Kakashi inquired. "As in Geto Corporation. The very same. If we finish the bridge we will be connected to the mainland and we will be free of his rule. We won't have to rely on his overpriced product again. Please. Help me save my country." Kakashi eyed his genin. "What do you all think? If we go on, you could lose your lives. There is no shame in turning back from something you can't handle. I think we should help him, Kakashi-sensei. I would want the same thing if it were us Geto had control of. I don't care either way. My master said I can eat Tazuna if he dies." Naruto nodded. Tazuna readily agreed and looked at Kakashi. He sighed. "Very well. We will continue our mission." The group gathered and continued out on the road. "We should reach our boat in just a few minutes. From there we will take it to my country. It will be a 30-minute walk to my house from there." "Master, I am not fond of water. May I dispel?" Naruto shook his head with a grin. "I see, very well then." The others watched with hesitancy as Ritsuko and Naruto were smiling as they trotted to the boat. "Here we are, boy. Tazuna. It's about time you showed up." The old man grinned. "Good to see you too, friend. Take us to the reedy shore. It will help hide us." "You got it." The group climbed in the boat and took their seats. Sakura nearly jumped out of her skin when Ritsuko laid her across her lap. "Scratch my ears and if I get wet I will eat you." Sakura froze and turned to Naruto. He was looking around the water innocently. She sighed and did as she was instructed to. Upon reaching shore, Sakura nearly cried out with joy at being released from caring for the fox. She is very annoying, but her searching skills are very good. Naruto mentally chuckled at his summon. They all exited the boat and made their way to a small path that Tazuna said led to the village. They continued along the path in silence, ready to rest. "Master, I can smell 2 humans nearby. Both are strong. Everyone get ready." Kakashi and the group settled into stances. Well. It seems they spotted me." A large figure jumped down from a nearby tree and grinned manically at Team 7. Zabuza Mamachi, known as the Demon of the Hidden Mist. Former member of the 7 Ninja Swordsmen of the Mist and wielder of Kubikirabacho. A rank missing nin due to the attempted assassination of the Mizukage. Kakashi glared at the larger man. "Copycat Kakashi, the man who has copied over 1,000 jutsu. This will be an interesting fight indeed. I won't be messing around, Zabuza, you will not leave here alive. Kakashi moved his hand towards his face and lifted his hit I-8. Sharingan. Sasuke gawked at his teacher. I won't be either, Kakashi. Suiton. Kurigakur no jutsu. A thick mist rolled in from the ocean and covered the battlefield. All three of you guard Tazuna. I'll handle Zabuza. Zabuza's voice echoed around the clearing. Which vital point should I hit? Perhaps this one. He reappeared in between the three genin and next to Tazuna. He swung his sword in a clean arc at Team 7. Sasuke jumped over the sword, Naruto jumped out of its path, and Sakura tackled Tazuna to the ground as the sword passed over them. Quick little kids, aren't they? Maybe they will last longer than a minute. Naruto leapt even further back before starting his jutsu. Gyuden. Tatsumaki. A small tornado formed and began blowing the mist out of the clearing, traveling quickly towards Zabuza. The missing nin slashed through it, but his mist was already mostly cleared. Nice kid. You have some talent after all. Naruto glared at the man and leapt forward. His fist flew towards Zabuza's gut and the man made to block. Naruto quickly dropped his fist and tried to Kodai from the left with his other. Zabuza saw right through it and grabbed the blonde's arm, throwing him at his teammates. You're one interesting kid. Too bad I have to kill you. Zabuza ran forwards and thrust his sword at the blonde. His sword met a kunai with a clang of metal. He glared at the jounin in his way. Move it, Kakashi. Over my dead body. That can be arranged. He spun quickly to gain momentum and unleashed his sword in a downward arc towards Kakashi's head. Unfortunately, he had to jump back to avoid the hail of shuriken from Sasuke. He stumbled slightly as he moved. Kakashi took advantage of this and rushed the man, forming lightning around his hand. Todori. The thrust his hand at the man's chest. Zabuza was lucky he was light on his feet for being so large he sidestepped it enough to just be grazed by the lightning fist, but it was still a serious injury. He clutched his side and took a few steps back. Now you die, Zabuza. Kakashi rushed with another Chidori. Zabuza raised his sword and blocked the strike, but was forced back into the tree behind him. Sasuke saw an opening and threw several kunai into the man's arms, pinning him to the tree. I'm surprised you were able to survive the Chidori strike and block a second. You fought well, but now you will die. Kunai in hand, Kakashi walked towards the heavily injured missing nin. In an instant, two senbon were sprouting from his neck. Kakashi wheeled around and searched for the target. Team 7 took up defensive stances around the thoroughly scared bridge builder. Thank you very much. I've been searching for him for a long time now. A small figure dropped out of the trees behind the group. Based on your mask, I'd say you were a hunter nin. Correct? The small figure pulled the kunai out of the arms of Zabuza. Draping his body around their shoulders, the hunter nin turned and faced Kakashi. This body holds many secrets. I must dispose of it. In a flicker the nin disappeared. Well, that was fun, kids. Let's head on. Kakashi fell flat on his face. His team rushed to surround him. Silly me. Sharingan and two Chidori left me with no chakra. I'll be fine after I rest, but perhaps you should carry me the rest of the way. After picking up their sensei, Team 7 followed Tazuna the rest of the way home. Kakashi was resting. Upon reaching Tazuna's house, they were greeted by his daughter, Tsunami. She was happy to see her father, but went into the overprotective mother mode when she caught sight of Kakashi. They were ushered inside and their sensei was tended to. They also met Inari, but he seemed to be angry with the group. It was unexplainable, but they left him alone. When Kakashi awoke the next day, Tazuna explained the situation in greater detail, making the silver-haired man shake his head. I know it won't be easy, but you came all this way. Not that, Tazuna. I just realized that Zabuza is still alive. Sakura spit out the tea she was drinking. What? The hunter nin is supposed to decapitate their target and burn the body where they die. The fact that the hunter nin took the body means that they work with Zabuza most likely. But sensei. He took two senbon in the neck. He had to have died from that. True, he should have. However, there is a special way to put someone in a death-like state. It's incredibly hard to do, but the fake hunter nin must be very talented to do it. Luckily for us, it will take Zabuza at least a week to recover from that. We have a week to train and hopefully that's enough to help you beat the fake hunter nin. Sensei, you can barely sit up. Sasuke pointed at the jounin. How will you be able to train? I will focus on recovering. I will need to be at 100% to beat Zabuza. Find me a pair of crutches and I will show you what you will be doing for a week. After several promises to Tsunami about not doing anything dangerous and being safe, Kakashi was allowed to hobble his way out of the house. It took a few minutes, but they made their way to a small wooded area about a half-mile away from Tazuna's. Alright. I want you all to climb trees. He smiled to himself as if he made a life-changing discovery. How is climbing trees going to help us fight a missing nin? Sakura had a point, Naruto was ashamed to admit. Simple. You can't use your hands. Sensei, did you hit your head a little too hard when you fell? I'll show you. Kakashi slowly walked up to one of the trees. He placed one foot on the trunk and then the other. Soon he was standing upside down on a tree branch. This exercise will help you gain chakra control. Having a lot of chakra can be nice, but if you can't control it, it's useless. By increasing your control, you will also slowly help your reserves grow. This will let you cast more powerful jutsu and more often than if you had a smaller reserve. He slowly made his way back down the tree. Now go to it. Kakashi. May I speak with you for a moment? The copy ninja was still uncomfortable with the fox, but other than threatening to eat two people, she has been well behaved. Of course Ritsuko. He hobbled away from his team, they were attempting to run up the trees, but were having little success. Until Sakura called out from above them. Hey, this is easy. Naruto and Sasuke gawked at her before doubling their efforts. What is it you wanted to speak about, Ritsuko? It is Master Naruto. It would be beneficial for him to train other skills instead of chakra control for now. After speaking with my lord, we both agreed that he should focus in his elemental affinity and mastering the few jutsu he knows. It will be just as effective as the chakra control, but he will have more focus on jutsu 10 on tree walking. Your lord, Lord Kyuubi. I see. I would like to think that I know what's best for my students. You have a right to think what you like. The fact still stands. Both methods would achieve the same, or near same, result. However, he shows more focus for jutsu than any other task. This is something I won't budge on. I am Naruto sensei. You, nor Kyuubi, are in the same position. He will practice tree walking. I understand how you feel. Perhaps we can compromise. If after 2 days my master shows little to no improvement in your exercise, he will be allowed to practice his jutsu. He will be guaranteed something out of this training that way. Kakashi stared down at the white fox. I agree. He should get something out of it. 3 days in tree walking. I will let him decide after that. Is that agreeable? The fox was silent for a moment before speaking. It is. My lord says that while that eye you carry makes him want to suck the marrow from your bones, you are one of the more decent humans he has seen. Kakashi felt a little violated. Kyuubi finds me decent. That's a laugh. I find him to be a monster, nothing more. Is it because your sensei died while sealing him inside my master? That and he ruined the life of a boy before he could speak. A boy I hold close to heart, no matter how I may act. Ritsuko was quiet before her eyes widened. My lord, are you sure? He won't believe. Yes my lord, I very well. Ritsuko calmed herself before staring at the jounin. What I say next is word for word what my lord told me to relay to you, idiot human. I might be a tailed beast and I might have killed many in my time walking the elemental nations. I am not a monster. I can experience emotions just as any human can. I can hate, but I can also love. I can kill, yet I can also save. I am not a mindless brute trying to destroy my container to break free. We are in agreement with each other when you say you hold the kid close to your heart. He is closer to me than any other being in the existence of humanity has been, save my father. I do not wish the boy harm, as it only harms me in turn. You may think of me as such, but this will prove it. Kakashi was shocked to say the least. He was talking to the Kyuubi in a semi-civilized manner and was now being told off by him. How exactly do you plan to do that? My lord would like to know if you would like to hear your sensei's last words. The jounin narrowed his eyes. For all I know, Kyuubi is just making this up. My lord is many things, but a liar he is not. He told my master the same thing. He was torn. He could preserve the memory of his sensei and never know what he said before he died, or he could learn what he said and have said image ruined. I don't understand. Why would Kyuubi want to tell me that? My lord can tell you harbor a slight hatred towards my master. If it wasn't for him being born, your sensei would be alive. We both think it would be best if you lose that hatred. If not, we will eliminate the problem. You would try to kill me? Kakashi glared at the white fox. Fine, what did my sensei say before he died? Please it. Kakashi did as he was told. Ritsuko placed her front paws on his knees and touched her snout to his forehead. Flashback, this is the only way to stop the fox. Saratobi stared at the blonde Hokage. Minato, please let me do it. The village needs you. Minato gave a half-hearted smile. I can't. The fox won't stay down for long with the sealie placed on him. He started walking towards Kyuubi, chained to the ground and snarling less than 100 feet away. Make sure my son is treated as a hero. Minato stopped to look at the old man. He will save the village every day of his life by keeping the fox at bay. Someday, he will understand why I did what I did. My students will hate him the most for killing their sensei. Especially Kakashi. I want one of them to teach Naruto how to be a ninja. Make it happen. Minato took a deep breath and faced the fox. Starting his hand seals, he whispered. Forgive me Naruto. Present day. Kakashi opened his eyes and stared at the summons. His sensei knew he would hate Naruto. He knew but he wanted him to teach his son. To help him along his path as a ninja. In a sense, he felt that Minato entrusted his son's life to himself and he hated himself for being so stupid. I think I understand. Thank you Ritsuko. The fox nodded but perked up in a second. She smiled, which looked like a feral smirk, and vegan hopping around yipping excitedly. Why are you? Kakashi was cut off but a flash of light and a puff of smoke. When it cleared he could clearly see Ritsuko sitting proudly. She was still white, but her paws and ears turned blue, the new color blending into the white. She also had 3 tails now. What just happened? The number of tails a fox has is directly related to the respect my lord has for said fox and their power. By helping you, and indirectly helping my master, my lord granted me their tail. Their head was held high. Kakashi was unsure of how to proceed, but he settled on an easy way out. I guess congratulations are in order. Thank you Kakashi. Now then, you should return to the den provided by Tazuna. Resting your body is your first priority. He shook his head and turned to the house. Who knew he would taking orders from a fox less than half his size? Naruto was tired. Tree walking was harder than it looked and was even more difficult for him due to his large reserves. He was huffing on the ground alone. A few hours earlier, Sakura and Sasuke left to go eat and he assumed they were done for the day. He stood up and prepared himself to run at the tree again when he caught sight of something out of the corner of his eye. He turned and saw a girl kneeling by a tree. She had long black hair and her figure was rather small. Naruto approached her and she turned when she heard the leaves crunch. Hello there. Naruto was stunned. She was very pretty. He was just like any other boy who thought about girls, but he wasn't a pervert by any means. This girl was definitely one of the best looking girls he had ever seen though. He pulled the chalkboard off of his back and began to write. He had kept it in case Ritsuko wasn't nearby. Hello. May I ask why you are out here though? I am gathering herbs for a friend. He was injured badly when an animal attacked him. I am curious as to why you write instead of speak. I was attacked by a ninja a little over a month ago. I haven't been able to speak since. Yet you are a ninja yourself. I want to be the Hokage, this way people will look up to me and respect me. I see. Perhaps we can learn from each other. I was kicked out of my village when I was young and my friend saved me. I want to become stronger to better protect my friend. I'm sorry. My village hates me as well. The girl was silent. She flushed slightly and apologized to Naruto, confusing him. I'm sorry. I just realized I never introduced myself. I am Haku. I am Naruto Uzumaki. Nice to meet you Uzumaki. Just Naruto is fine. May I ask you a question Haku? You may. How are you so happy? If you were hated by your village why aren't you angry? Haku was curious as to why he would ask something like that. She stared at his eyes and saw sadness. He was sad about life. Things seemed to be hard for him even before he lost his voice. She reached out and placed her hand on his shoulder. Naruto flinched at the contact but didn't move away. Do you have a precious person? What do you mean? Do you know someone that you would die for without hesitation? Someone who would do the same for you if put in a situation like that? Do you have someone you care for above all others? Naruto nodded. He would die for the old man in a heartbeat. Same with Iruka-sensei. They were the only two who ever cared about him. That is how I am happy. I have a precious person. I would gladly die for him if it meant he would continue living. Naruto glanced at Haku. He blushed at her smile. Are you okay? You seem to have a fever. Naruto flushed deeper and turned away from the girl. She could hear hesitancy in the words he was writing. He held the board in front of Gia's face when he turned back. I'm not used to talking to pretty girls. Haku flushed. He thought she was pretty. She saw him peek around his board, his face still red. Thank you Naruto. I've never been called that before. She almost ran when she saw his reaction. Naruto looked ready to kill someone. He began furiously writing on his board and nearly shoved it in her face when he was done. That's crazy. Everyone you know must be blind if you have never been called pretty before. Haku was touched. This boy that she has only seen twice was adamant that everyone was wrong to not call her pretty. She had never particularly cared about her looks before, but no felt self-conscious in front of the seething blonde. It's alright. I don't mind. I don't talk to many people anyhow. Naruto was silent for a while, not even glancing at his board, his brow furrowed. Haku stood up and was about to leave when she felt a tug at her dress. She looked down at the boy and saw the board shaking in front of him. Can you come back tomorrow? I like talking to you. She didn't know what to say. All her life she was a tool for her master to use. She was in the background, but Naruto wanted to talk to her. He wanted her attention for nothing more than to get to know her. I will try to come back. She felt her cheek tighten at seeing the blonde grin. He was happy about getting to see her again. Goodbye Naruto. He waved as she walked away. The whole way back she thought of nothing but the boy. Every day for the next 6 were the same. Team 7 would wake up, eat, train more, eat, then go to sleep. Little did they know that Naruto was doing more than training. He was able to make it halfway up the tree after 3 days, so Kakashi told him that he should work on his jutsu instead. Naruto happily agreed. After the final training session, Sakura and Sasuke would go home and Naruto would meet with Haku. They talked for hours at a time, learning more about each other and laughing together. The blonde loved hearing Haku laugh. To him it was an amazing sound. When he told her that, she blushed and waved it off, but inside she was beaming. She almost forgot that they would be fighting soon. She was excited for their next meeting and was humming slightly on her way there. When she reached the meeting spot, however, she saw Naruto curled against a tree. He was crying. "Naruto!" She yelled and ran towards the blonde. He raised his head and saw her, but the crying continued. "Naruto." She fell to her knees next to him. "What happened? What's wrong?" Nothing prepared her for what happened next. The blonde jumped at her and cried into her shoulder. He was hugging her. Haku was still for a few moments before she slowly wrapped her arms around him. "Naruto, tell me what happened. You will be alright. I'm here, don't worry." She never thought that she would be comforting someone, let alone be hugged. The feeling was pleasant, but the circumstances were not. After a few minutes, Naruto pulled himself away and began riding on his board shakily. Flashback, his teammates were curious. The blonde had been exceptionally happy the past few days. They tried to get him to explain what was going on, but Ritsuko growled at them. Tsunami was happy to see the boy in such high spirits. She often praised him for keeping happy in such a time. That happiness was not to last though. During one of the meals the group was having, Inari came into the room looking even more angry than usual. "You're all going to die." "Inari." His mother scolded him for such talking. "Well, it's true. Anyone who faces Gato will die. You should leave while you can." "Inari." "Apologize." "It's okay, Tsunami." Kakashi waved his hand. "We have been through worse than Gato. We will make sure he pays for what he has done." "Liar. You all live in that big fancy ninja village. Being protected and having money means nothing to you. You don't know what it's like to suffer." Kakashi stiffened and everyone slowly turned towards Naruto. He was leaking kai like he had enough to drown the country in it. "We don't know what suffering is." Ritsuko bared her fangs from her seat in Naruto's lap. "My master has been through more than this entire village will ever see. He was beaten mercilessly since he could walk. His entire village thinks of him as no more than a walking target. He lost his voice when he was attacked by 6 ninja from the very village he lives in. He has endured more pain than most will see in a lifetime and he has not even reached manhood. For one that talks of suffering, you have more than my master has ever had. You have a family who loves you, food on the table, and a roof over your head." Naruto had already left by that point. "Tell me, kid, have you ever had to sleep in an alleyway, hoping you wouldn't freeze to death by morning because you couldn't find rags to cover yourself?" "No, I haven't." "Have you ever had to go for days without food because you were chased away from trash cans, the only place you could find any?" "And no, I." "Have you ever been chased down the street, an angry mob running after you, tiring you out, so when you finally stopped you couldn't fight back?" He was beaten for hours at a time nearly every day. He lived on the streets for 4 years. He is only alive because he heals too fast for starvation to kill him. The next time you think about talking about your suffering, look at him. You live like a king compared to what he has been through. Do you want to know the worst part? Sasuke was in shock. He never knew that Naruto's life was that hard. Sakura and Tsunami were crying. Tazuna hung his head low. Kakashi was angry with himself. Inari shook his head, tears threatening to fall. Those so-called ninja, the ones who were supposed to stop things like that from happening, didn't raise a finger to help. They watched as a mere kid was abused physically and mentally for years. Yet somehow he can still smile. He still calls that worthless place his home. "Now if you'll excuse me, I don't want to see any of you for the rest of the day." Ritsuko hopped off of her chair and made to leave. Naruto, hearing her coming, left his place from behind the door and ran. Present day. Naruto finished his story, his hand aching from writing so much. His crying had reduced to mere sniffles. Haku was tearing up. Her life wasn't a great one, but after hearing what the boy had gone through, she respected him for being as happy as he was. She would have gone mad after such treatment. The worst part is that the only thing that's changed since then is I now have a way to earn money and an apartment given to me by the Hokage. I am still chased and beaten. Naruto Haku grabbed one of his hands with both of hers. "I'm so sorry." He stared at her with gratitude. His eyes widened for a second before he turned towards the ground. "What is it, Naruto?" He waved his hand like it didn't matter. "You know you can tell me anything, right?" He fidgeted for a moment before writing slowly on his board. "Is your friend healed?" "Yes, he is all better now." "Is that what you didn't want to say? How much do you care for your friend?" Haku was confused by the question. "I care for him very much, but I sometimes feel like I get in the way. I owe him a great deal for helping me and I doubt I can ever truly repay him." What came next left Haku gaping. She was confused and touched at the same time. It was something that would require a great deal of care to handle properly. One wrong word and everything up until now would be meaningless. She hated to admit it, but she did care for Naruto. She liked that he focused on her. However, she never meant for it to go this far. If I asked, would you run away with me? Confused. Haku was very confused. Not because of the weird semi-request the blonde had made, but because she was actually considering it. She was raised to be a tool. She was to be used until she was no longer of use. Naruto saw her as a person though, not a tool. He wanted to be with her because she was her. He wanted nothing more than her companionship. Naruto, this was a truly hard decision. She had been with Zabuza all her life, working for him in order to pay back the life he gave her. This was a chance to leave. A chance to be free from that debt. Naruto was nice to her. He was caring and sweet. She could remember the one time she met him and age had a cut on her arm from training. He began fusing over her and demanded that she received medical attention. It was cute in a way. Zabuza gave her a life. She had no right to turn back on him because she had a chance to be free. Naruto would be heartbroken, but she couldn't stay with him. Naruto's face fell. He felt horrible, like someone had thrusted a kunai into his gut. He was on the verge of tears when he felt a pair of arms wrap around him. Naruto, don't cry. I'm very happy that you would consider asking me this, but I can't. My friend needs me. If I were to disappear, he would be worried. Besides, you are a ninja. You can't abandon your village for me. Come with me back to Konoha then. Your friend can come too. Haku couldn't believe it. I have 2 people at home that I am able to talk to. I really like you and I don't want you to leave me. You said that you and your friend travel, so come to Konoha. You could live there. This way I could see you all the time. Haku was tearing up. She tried to hold back her tears, but to no avail. She cried. Naruto's eyes went wide and he started writing furiously. I'm sorry. Please don't cry. Just forget I said anything. I'm so sorry. Haku wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. I'm okay, Naruto. You've shown me more kindness in the past few days than anyone has ever shown me my whole life. I couldn't ask you for anything more. She stood up and brushed off her dress. I have to go, Naruto. I don't think we will see each other again. Maybe if things were different. If we had met at a different time, I might have gone with you, but right now I can't. I'm sorry. She ran, leaving Naruto with an outstretched hand. Sakura was worried. It was dark and Naruto hadn't returned yet. She had been waiting for him to apologize for her behavior. Sasuke was with her, but why she wasn't certain. Sasuke was sitting, waiting patiently for Naruto to return. He never knew that Naruto had a rough life. He always assumed he had a good one, seeing his carefree spirit. It wasn't much, but he planned on giving the blonde something that would hopefully ease some of what he was going through. Kakashi stayed out into the night. He was waiting for the blonde to return so he could get some rest. Sleep was elusive, and until he knew his student was back here and safe, he wouldn't be getting any. Naruto was sad. He should have figured that Haku didn't want to be with him. Just like the villagers, she wanted nothing to do with him. He trudged back home, thinking over everything that had transpired the last few days. The time Haku was injured and he couldn't focus on anything but that. The first time they mutually hugged before she left for her friend. Even the moments before she left. She ran and never looked back. No one ever looked back. He was tired. Tired of the way his life was going. Even if it meant unending pain for the rest of his life, he wanted someone to care enough to look back. He wanted to be noticed before he said something. He wanted someone to fret over whether or not he was eating enough. Anything. He just wanted someone to care for someone who would care back. He raised his head and saw he was at Izuna's. Sighing. Naruto pushed the door open and silently made his way to the guest room he was given. Maybe a good night's sleep would help him get over all of this. When he opened his bedroom door, he found Sasuke and Sakura. Naruto. She ran up to him and gave him the biggest hug she possibly could. When she finally let him go, Naruto turned to Sasuke. I'm not going to hug you. Naruto grinned. Where have you been, Naruto? We were worried about you. Naruto was about to start writing when Ritsuko trotted into the room. I can smell a vixen on him. A vixen? Sakura looked at Naruto strangely. You mean he was with a fox? I believe Ritsuko meant he was with a girl. Sasuke smirked at the blushing Naruto. Sakura gaped at him and her face flushed. What do you mean with a G-girl? Naruto twiddled his thumbs and stared at the ground. He has been meeting with a vixen for a few days at least. I assume it's after each training session at the end of the day. Based on the potency of the scent they have shared in physical contact. Sakura was sputtering. You mean he's been having relations with a girl for the past few nights? Naruto quickly shook his head, waving his hands wildly. He began writing. No. We have done nothing more than hug. Sasuke smirked. But there is still a girl. Naruto's blush was the only answer he needed. She is very nice. Sakura was happy that he found someone to talk to. Naruto. She was also upset it wasn't them. Why didn't you tell us about her? I knew that you were all training and that the upcoming fight is important. I didn't want to mess with that. I know that, but we are your teammates. You should be able to tell us anything. I know I have been mean to you for no reason. I didn't realize you had such a hard life. I'm sorry for the way I treated you." Sasuke cleared his throat. "If you would like, there are several of buildings in the Uchiha district that are abandoned. No one would dare come in uninvited." The blonde was tearing up once again. He was offered a home. Not a place to live in fear, but a place where he could be at peace without worry that someone would slit his throat in his sleep. "He accepts your apology, Sakura. He will gladly take you up on your offer, Sasuke. Now please leave. It has been a long night and you all need rest for tomorrow." The two others left quickly, not wanting to incur the fox's wrath. Naruto fell into the bed and quickly passed out, the night's events finally catching up to him. Kit. After opening his eyes, Naruto found himself in a sewer. More precisely, he found himself in his own sewer. "What is it? Are you ready for the fight come morning?" "I think so. My training from you and Kakashi has helped a lot and I perfected the new jutsu I was working on." "What of the vixen? You mean Haku?" "Yes. What will become of her after the battle? Will you try and find her again?" "I want to, but she can't come with me to Konoha. Seeing her again would be more painful than anything. I see I have no more to teach you for this fight. Do not die." "I don't plan on it." Waking up to the sounds of screaming is never a good thing. When Naruto awoke and heard Tsunami screaming, he rushed downstairs. Two men in dark clothing wielding swords were standing in front of the woman. Inari was screaming, waving a knife back and forth. "Get away from my mother." Naruto crept down the stairs and drew a kunai. Before the men could react, he had plunged it into the shorter one's neck. The remaining swordsman jumped back and growled at the blonde. He raised his sword and tried to cleave the blonde in two. Upon contact, Naruto burst into smoke, confusing all present. The swordsman searched for the blonde but was stopped by a hail of shuriken that came from the open door. He blocked several, but most hit their mark, leaving him to bleed out on the floor. The real Naruto entered the house and looked about the room, surveying the damage. He walked up to Inari and patted his head, giving him a light smile. "Zabuza is at the bridge, master. Please hurry." Naruto straightened up at hearing Ritsuko. He gave the two a small wave before running out the door. The bridge was a mess to say the least. Several workers lay dead and Zabuza was holding well against Kakashi with help from Ritsuko. Sakura and Sasuke were having trouble against a hunter nin. The ice jutsu that they used was more powerful than anything either Sasuke or Sakura had. "I see the blonde is not with you. Naruto will be here and when he gets here he will kick your ass." Sakura yelled from her downed position. Sasuke was trying his best to dodge the senbon being thrown but was having little success. "The blonde won't make any difference. He will just be another body." Sasuke's eyes flashed. "Naruto will make a difference. He is more powerful than you realize." Haku noticed the boy's eyes changed but paid them no mind. Once they killed the bridge builder they could leave. Hopefully Naruto never made it to the bridge. She would have to end it quickly. Haku no Hijutsu. Makyo Hyasho. The water on the bridge began to form solid blocks and slowly turned to ice, surrounding the Uchiha. "Let's melt the ice." Kaiten. Dorigen no Hono. A thin stream of white fire spewed forth from Sasuke, blasting one of the mirrors. After a few seconds he released it, sweating a bit from the heat. His jaw dropped when he saw the mirror still in perfect condition. It will take more than just fire to melt these mirrors. Sasuke backed up and readied another jutsu when he felt it. Gyuden. Kuki Piasa. A thin stream of condensed air whistled right past Sasuke's nose and into a mirror, cracking it slightly. The mirror fixed itself in short order, but Haku was amazed to see it crack at all. She turned to face her new assailant, praying it wasn't the blonde. Her heart dropped when she saw Naruto, eyes full of anger. Fuchius no Jutsu. The puff of smoke later, a large black fox appeared with red eyes and 5 tails. "Protect the bridge builder. Only step in if it looks like I will die." The black fox nodded and bounded for the old man, effectively scaring him. Naruto rounded back at the hunter nin. The hatred in his eyes made Haku want to cry. It wasn't fair that she had to fight the blonde. "Surrender the bridge builder and we won't have to fight Blondie." Haku purposely lowered her voice so she couldn't be recognized. Naruto didn't even listen as he charged her. He reared back his fist, quickly approaching the mirrors. Haku sighed and moved to the furthest mirror. When Naruto reached the mirrors, his eyes changed and a red chakra coated his hand. He struck the mirror and shattered it like glass, scaring Haku and surprising the others. Zabuza especially took notice of what was happening. He had noticed something was off with Haku. She was gone for long periods of time, claiming she was training. She was smiling a lot, something she never used to do. She lowered her voice when the blonde reached the bridge. Now the blonde had broken through her bloodline jutsu. Something was up and it definitely involved the blonde. "Haku? I don't know what's wrong with you, but step it up. We need that bridge builder." Haku froze. Zabuza just said a name. He said Haku. Why? Why now of all time? Maybe the blonde mistook him or thought it was just a coincidence. Maybe he just missed what he said. After seeing the blonde's face, she knew her luck wouldn't hold. His eyes had returned to their normal blue and he was standing limply, staring at the mask Haku wore. Haku? Naruto had actually taken to riding on his board. The girl nodded, suddenly feeling ashamed of herself. She had lied to the blonde. Lied to the only one who would call her a friend. Why did you lie to me? The fight between Kakashi and Zabuza had halted. Everyone was staring at the pair, a saddened Naruto and an ashamed Haku. I didn't lie, everything I told you was true. Your friend is Zabuza. No. Zabuza is my master. I am his tool to control. So you are just like everyone else. Haku was hurt that he thought of her like that, but she couldn't blame him. No. I really am your friend. I still want to be. You lie. I thought I finally found someone who cared enough. I thought you could be my precious person. Turns out you are just like the others. All lies and deceit. Zabuza was confused. Haku was showing out of emotion towards the silent blonde. The last time he had seen that much emotion in the girl was when he found her crying and alone. Haku? Kill the boy already. We don't have time to spend chatting. But Zabuza. I said do it. She looked at the broken boy, years were forming in his eyes. She had hurt him deeply, more so than anything before him if his stories were true. He stopped crying from the beatings long ago. She made him cry. No. Zabuza's jaw dropped. What did you say to me? No. I won't hurt a friend. If it means you have no use for me, I will fight against you. I can't allow Naruto to be hurt. She took off her mask and threw it against the ground, dropping her jutsu at the same time. Sasuke blushed at seeing her face. This was the girl he had been meeting. Haku caught sight of Sasuke's face and glared. Don't even think about it. He nodded quickly. So after everything I have done for you. Zabuza stalked towards the girl, flinching at each approaching step. You would dare go against my word. He was yelling in her face at this point. I don't care what you have to say anymore. Naruto is my friend and I stand by my friends. Zabuza's glare intensified significantly, but Haku held her ground, barely. Suddenly the man grinned. It's about damn time. Haku blinked in response. Staying with me for as long as you have made you like a robot. Plus you said he is a friend. He pointed his thumb in Naruto's direction. I'd rather have him on my side than against me. He turned to Kakashi. So we no longer have a reason to fight, seeing as how Haku has sided with you. Kakashi nodded and let out a breath he had been holding. He didn't know how much longer he could have kept up that fight. Haku was fidgeting nervously and glanced at Zabuza. He frowned at her. What is it? Do you have to piss or something? Haku had the decency to blush. She pointed at Naruto who was also fidgeting. So you both have to piss. Sakura and Sasuke face faulted at this. Kakashi just chuckled and placed a hand on the missing nin's shoulder. Zabuza reached for his sword but withdrew it once he saw Kakashi. You really have the emotional capacity of a teaspoon. Just tell her it's okay. Zabuza frowned at the insult but turned back to the girl who was looking at him expectantly. It's okay. Haku was gone before he could finish. I'm so sorry Naruto. The Genin turned and saw her latched onto the boy like nothing else and he held back. I'm so sorry. Haku was crying now. That surprised Zabuza quite a bit. He suddenly saw that boy's hand was on Haku's back, her lower back. Hey you little shit. You better not be making a move on Haku. I'll kill you if that hand goes any lower. Naruto jumped back with his hands in the air and Haku blushed yet again. Naruto wouldn't do something like that, right? Protective of your daughter Zabuza. Kakashi nudged him with an elbow. Zabuza glared at the man. Hell no, but as long as I am breathing I will kill any boy who so much as looks at her in the wrong way. Haku was warmed by the words. It was almost as if he cared for her. The words seemed to have the opposite effect on Naruto however. He was staring at the ground, depressed as all hell. I will tolerate your hugging, but only because of what you did for Haku. If your hands get any ideas, I will take them, understand? Naruto nodded quickly. This isn't what I expected at all. The party turned towards the voice and found it belonged to a short man in a black suit. Gato. I'm disappointed Zabuza. Not only did you not kill the bridge builder, but you befriended the enemy ninja. I'm glad I wasn't going to pay you in the first place. The mob of thugs behind him grinned menacingly. Zabuza glared at the man and released his kai. Kakashi beside him did the same. The Genin and Haku caught on and did the same. The amount of kai in the area was astounding. The thugs began to sweat and were backing away nervously. If you bring me Zabuza's head, you'll get a 50,000 ryo bonus. It was as if the kai was non-existent. The moment the bonus was mentioned the mob ran towards the ninja shouting about death. The ninja steeled themselves and prepared their jutsu and their weapons. Now. Kakashi shouted and sprinted towards the group. Zabuza and Sasuke followed him, closing in quickly on the mob. Naruto, Haku and Sakura opted to stay near the back. Gyuden. Tatsumaki the blonde sent several of these through his comrades and into the enemy, pushing them together or flinging them apart. Sakura and Haku picked off the ones away from the groups with shuriken and senbon respectively. The larger groups were dealt with by Kakashi's fast movement and kunai, Zabuza's large and deadly blade, or Sasuke's fire jutsu. Several minutes later, the group surrounded Gedo, all of his men dead or incapacitated. "I'll give you whatever you want. Please, just don't hurt me." "Anything?" Zabuza grinned at the man, cowering under the fierce gaze. "Tell me where you keep your Ryo. I know you don't trust banks." The man quickly told Zabuza everything. "Well, our mission here is done, we can leave whenever you all." At the sound of tearing flesh, the group looked at Zabuza, the short man's head in his hands. Already Kakashi finished with a grimace. The next few days were relatively normal. Zabuza and Haku decided to stay with Tazuna, much to the chagrin of the older man. Not many were happy about housing missing nin, especially missing nin that were trying to kill you just days ago. After only taking the money he was promised from Gedo, Kakashi asked why. They learned of what the Mizukage was doing to bloodline holders, the reason Zabuza became a missing nin in the first place. When he said the rest of the money could be used for the country, Tsunami was so happy she hugged him. Everyone laughed at that. Ritsuko was quite chatty with Haku and expressed several times how she would make a good mate for Naruto. Team 7 wouldn't let him live it down. Inari had taken to calling Naruto brother. Naruto called him little bro. Haku managed to convince Zabuza to head to Konoha with Team 7 and join the village. Kakashi's was weary of such developments but relented at the insistence of the blonde. After all, who could say no to his cute little Genin? Finally the day came when the party was ready to leave. With a wave, they left for Konoha, ready for some sleep in their own beds. After all, they had deserved it. "Lord Hokage. Why have you summoned us here?" The Hokage was worried. He turned to face the clan heads. "We have a problem, Hiashi." Turn to the recent editions section of the bingo books in front of you. The clan heads were skeptical but did as they were told. Their eyes widened. How? How is this possible? Tsume was most vocal about her concern, but they all thought the same thing. Name? Naruto Uzumaki. Age? 13. Status? None. Alias? The Silent Fox. Rank? C. Skills? Mid Genin level ninjutsu. High Genin level Taijutsu. No known Genjutsu. No known Kenjutsu. Achievements? Used only words to Suju, an associate of Zabuza Mamachi, in turn subduing Zabuza himself. Only no holder of the Fox contract. Low chunin ninja and lower approach with caution. Well shit. Saying that Hiruzen was surprised would be an understatement. So say he was sure he was official senile would be more accurate. In front of him stood Team 7, their leader Kakashi, and the two people he least expected to see given the circumstances. Zabuza Mamachi was looking around the office from his spot between two Anbu. Haku was standing close to Naruto looking very nervous, a single Anbu hovering nearby. And then we left wave. Nothing happened on the way back. Now we are here. Kakashi's finished his report. You two want to join Konoha? The two outsiders nodded. What do you have to offer us? Zabuza was surprised that the Hokage hadn't immediately dismissed the idea, but rather wanted something from them in return. As far as I know, Konoha doesn't have but one or two Kenjutsu specialists. I am one and have a vast knowledge of water jutsu that I can use. I would rather not, but if I must, I can teach Kenjutsu. The Hokage nodded, accepting this, before turning to Haku. What can you offer Haku? I have a bloodline. I can use ice-type jutsu. A bloodline? The Hokage frowned. That will cause some commotion, but that is acceptable. As of this moment I will give you citizenship and ninja status in Konoha provides that you are monitored 24/7 for 6 months. You will be given tests to determine your rank after the 6 months is over. Is that agreeable? With all due respect Lord Hokage, I believe that testing Zabuza would be mostly pointless. He held his own against me in 2 fights, and I might have lost the second one if Naruto hadn't interfered. At the very least I would have required a Chidori, leaving me completely drained. I think it's fair to say he is a Jounin. I see. He was surprised that Kakashi was almost killed in a battle with a missing nin. Even the Anbu behind Zabuza straightened a little. Then where would you place Haku at? To be fair I haven't seen her fight much. She held her own against Sasuke and Sakura. I would say high Genin or low chunin. Testing her might be necessary. If she is allowed to train for the 6 months probation she will easily be chunin material. I'll take your word for it Kakashi. At the end of the 6 months probation, Haku will become a chunin. Zabuza will be a jounin. Is that acceptable? The two ninja nodded. Alright. You are all dismissed. Zabuza I would like to speak with you a moment longer. The rest of the team left, leaving Zabuza by himself. Well we have 3 days off team. Due to the nature of the mission, it was upgraded to an A rank. Take some time to just rest before you begin training again. No point in wearing yourselves out in time for another mission. Kakashi waved and disappeared in a swirl of leaves. What do you all want to do? Sakura turned to her teammates. I think it would be good to spend some time together outside of training and missions. I know I'm not a part of your team, but first could we find a place for me to stay? They all looked at Haku. After a flash of light, Ritsuko appeared. Ah! Sakura screamed at the fox. Where have you been? I was talking with Kakashi. He requested that Haku stay with my master if the Uchiha had no qualms. Sasuke just shrugged. He didn't care either way. If Haku was Kosabi, then Zabuza would be too. He could use them for sparring partners in the future. Very well. I will inform Kakashi. Master Naruto, I will be unavailable for the day. I must speak with my lord about your next step in training. Ritsuko disappeared in yet another flash. Sakura looked at Naruto funnily. She calls Kakashi lord. No. I have another sensei. Don't ask, I can't say. Sakura pouted but dropped it. Sasuke was interested. Did it have anything to do with Naruto breaking Haku's mirror at the bridge? If so, he wanted to meet this person. How about some ramen? It wasn't that they hated ramen, but they didn't eat it like Naruto did. The owners of the ramen stand were happy to serve the blonde and his friends though, so Team 7 didn't care. It's good to see you Naruto. He smiled at Am. She was always so happy. You too Am. Naruto, who is this pretty young lady you have with you? I don't think we've been introduced. This is Haku. She is a friend we met on our last mission. Well, it's nice to meet you Haku. I hope Naruto doesn't cause you too much trouble. Haku smiled at Naruto's pout. What's that supposed to mean? Before Ichiraku could answer, several people walked into the restaurant. Am, we better pick up the pace. The girl nodded and headed to the back. 6 Mizo Ramen. Oh hey there guys. Kiba sat down next to Naruto. On his left sat Hinata, Shino, Ino, Shikamaru, and Choji. To Naruto's right was Haku, Sasuke, and Sakura. Hello Sasuke. Ino yelled from down the bar. Sasuke sighed and banged his head against the counter. I'm happy to see you too. Everyone faulted at Ino's obliviousness. Hello and Naruto. Hinata pressed her fingertips together, her face red. Hello Hinata. Naruto. You changed a lot. Troublesome. Shikamaru laid his head on the counter. He is right. You look different without that jumpsuit. Ino stared at the other blonde. He had a sleeveless dark blue shirt covered with a dark blue and black vest. His pants were black Anbu style though they only came to his calf. Both legs were wrapped in bandages. He had blue fingerless gloves on his hands. You look hot. Shikamaru lifted his head off of the table and stared at Ino. Kiba's jaw dropped. Hinata blushed even deeper. Sakura spit out a ramen. Haku glared at the girl. The rest were reserved with their emotions. In Choji's case, he wasn't even paying attention. He had food to eat. I bought them before we left after finishing our mission to Wave. I figured it was time for a change. Naruto hoped that Haku couldn't see his blush at Ino's words. Kiba noticed said girl for the first time since he walked in and started drilling. Hello beautiful. Where have you been my whole life? Haku stated at the boy. You're the Inyazuka. So you've heard of me? Doesn't surprise me that much. I'm just that awesome. I suggest you close your mouth unless you value your manhood. Kiba backed up quickly and covered his groin. Haku? Sakura stared at the girl. You can't threaten people like that. He was attempting to flirt with me, a poor attempt I might add. I simply told him to stop in a creative manner. Still. He is a ninja, and in case you forgot, you are still on probation. Probation for what? Ino stated at the girl. She seemed harmless enough, and telling Kiba off was entertaining to watch. Until about an hour ago, I was the associate of Zabuza Mamachi and an accomplished assassin. In 6 months I will be a chunin of this village. The group fell silent. Even Choji stopped eating and stared at the girl. YUW worked with Zabuza. Hinata, surprisingly, was the first to speak. Yes. He will be joining Konoha as well. Since you are new here, you probably don't have a place to stay. Kiba didn't learn very well, but he did time down his approach. You are welcome at the Inyazuka compound. I already have a place to stay. With who? Naruto. The group went silent again, staring at the blonde. You're one lucky son of a bitch. Kiba was glaring lightly at Naruto. 6 Mizo Ramen as requested Am and Ichiraku stepped out from the back and stared at the scene in front of them. I hope we aren't interrupting something. We were just leaving. Thank you, it was the best ramen I have ever had, just as Naruto said. Haku stood up and bowed to the owner. She grabbed Naruto's hand and dragged him out of the restaurant. Should we follow them Sasuke? Sakura watched Naruto being dragged away. You'll be fine. What if they are going to the Uchiha compound? Sasuke was gone. Sakura looked at the empty spot and turned towards the owners. I have to pay the bill don't I? They nodded. Sakura slammed her head on the counter. People stared at the pair as they walked throughout the streets. Most gave looks of disgust, but a few people cheered, thinking someone was going to put the demon in its place. Haku stopped to glare at the cheering people before continuing to drag the blonde. After a few minutes, she suddenly stopped. Naruto took this chance to stand up on his own and dust himself off. He gave Haku a glare. I don't know where I'm going. Haku had the decency to blush, the blonde's eye was twitching. A few deep breaths later, Naruto managed to write on his board. Where did you want to go? Away from the Inyazuka, but I think the Uchiha compound would be a good place to start. We will be staying there after all. Naruto facepalmed. It's literally in the exact opposite direction you dragged me. Haku found her feet very interesting suddenly. Naruto rolled his eyes and grabbed her arm. He started pulling her in the direction they came from. I'm telling you, Naruto is tapping that. Kiba was begging his friends to see the truth. There is no way he isn't. Kiba, just because you think about sex non-stop doesn't mean Naruto does as well. Ino glared at him. I'm sure Naruto is a perfect gentleman. Then Naruto wouldn't act like that with a lady. Hinata desperately tried to stand up for the blonde. Besides, I'm gonna get him before she does. The group's jaws dropped at Ino's declaration. Finally gave up on Sasuke. Chaoji joined in the conversation, surprising some of them. You didn't hear? I think Sasuke is gay. Shikamaru actually tripped and fell. What? There is no way he can't have a girlfriend when nearly every girl wants him. He has to be gay. Hinata eyed the blonde girl with worry. She didn't need another girl competing for Naruto's affection as well. Whatever. I still think Naruto is with her right now, fuck Naruto. They stopped and saw a disheveled Naruto carrying Haku down the street. Haku was easily disheveled, her hair a mess. It hurt yes, but I can still walk. You didn't do that much damage. They continued past their friends without a second glance. The 6 genin were twitching. Hinata had fainted and Kiba had a nosebleed. What did I say? The Uchiha district wasn't that far from the ramen stand. 10 minutes after passing it again, they were at the gates. Sasuke was already there waiting for them. Why are you carrying Haku? Sasuke pointed at the girl in his arms. Haku managed to pry herself out of his grasp and stood up, brushing herself off and scowling. Naruto pushed me after I stopped dragging him. I tripped over a rock and hit my head. He thought I was hurt, so he picked me up. Well, I'm glad I caught you both. I'll need you to put your blood on this. He unfurled a scroll to show the pair. It will allow you to enter the compound. Zabuza came while you were gone and he's waiting for you. The two bit their thumbs, placing a smudge on the scroll. Sasuke did the same, placing his directly below their own prints. Now you can come and go as you please. Just place your blood on the gate and it will open. Naruto placed his bloodly thumb on the gate and it swung open. Down the main street, 6th house on the right. Zabuza should be waiting. Mine is the next street over with the double doors. Don't bother me unless someone is dead. Sasuke left them staring around the place in wonder. It was more like a village than a compound. After a walk up and down the entire main street, the pair stopped in front of their new lodgings. A small 2-story house, painted in dark colors like the rest of the compound. They made their way inside. First door on the right up the stairs. Haku. You sleep there? Zabuza stood in the entryway, glaring at them. I would like to have a chat with the kid. Zabuza, please don't. Haku. I just want to talk. Now go. Haku frowned at the man and gave an apologetic look towards Naruto before going upstairs. Ouch. Now. Naruto scurried past the imposing ninja and into the living space that Zabuza had pointed him to. He quickly sat on one of the 2 couches available. Zabuza took the other. I'm only going to ask this once, so make damn sure you answer correctly. What are your intentions with Haku? The blonde began to sweat. As if being interrogated wasn't enough, but one of the deadliest ninja in the world had to do it. Unstrapping his board he wrote. I don't understand what you mean by intentions. Romantically. Naruto turned a shade of red that would have the Sharingan blushing. Haku is my friend. That is all. Kid, I respect that you treat Haku well, but someday you might see her as more, or she might see you as more. What will you do then? I don't know. He could honestly say he didn't. He only saw Haku as a friend. Not to say that she wasn't pretty or had a boldness to be envied and had skills to back up that boldness. Now that he thought about it, Ritsuko said that she would be an ideal mate. I just want her to be happy. No matter if it meant never speaking to her again. Or having her hate you for the rest of her life. Naruto halted in his writing. That was something he had never considered. What if, after a period of time, Haku didn't want to be his friend anymore? What if he hurt her and she never forgave him? Then I would leave her alone. If she wants to leave because it would make her happy, then I would let her go. Naruto almost had a heart attack when Zabuza gave him an honest smile. That's what I want to hear. You can stay across the hall from Haku, but I'll be next to your room. Don't get any ideas. Naruto nodded and left, heading for his room. Perhaps he should think more about what Zabuza said to him. Maybe Haku will one day want to leave. As much as he hates to admit it, it's not something he would stop her from doing if she wanted to. He would rather have no contact with her and have her be happy than be near her and have her be sad. When he opened his bedroom door, the day's events hit him like a ton of bricks. The blonde shuffled to his bed and fell down on it. It took but a minute for sleep to claim him. Lord Hokage would like you to meet with him before your team's training this morning. The Anbu stared at a bleary-eyed blonde. He shuffled to the gates ready to kill whoever it was that made Sasuke wake him up at this hour, but took it back when he spotted the Anbu. He nodded to the Anbu and turned back to ready himself for his meeting. What was it for? Sasuke asked Naruto as he walked through the door to his new home. Naruto waved him off. He would tell him after he dressed. Naruto had told Sasuke he might be late to team training because of his meeting. Sasuke accepted that, although curious as to why the Hokage needed to meet with him. The blonde hightailed it to the Hokage tower. He kicked down the door and strided in, holding peace signs up on both hands, smiling widely and turning to his invisible crowd. The Hokage chuckled at the boy's antics. The two elders with him were furious. What is the meaning of this? Kaharu glared at the boy. You insolent brat. Hokage, arrest the boy for entering your office. Homura turned to the Hokage. Why should I? The Hokage chuckled. He entered the office of the Hokage without permission of the Hokage. He should be placed under arrest immediately. Normally you would be right. However, I have given Naruto permission to enter whenever he wishes, so he has committed no crime. In fact, I should congratulate him for brightening my day. The elders scowled and glared at the boy. Naruto, being the mature individual he is, flipped them the bird and stuck his tongue out. Lord Hokage. I demand he be arrested for such insolence. Homura turned to the Hokage. I'm sorry, I was studying my papers here, what is it that happened? The Hokage looked up from his desk to see two angry elders and a grinning Naruto. If you have nothing else, I have a meeting with Naruto. You may leave. Naruto strode up to the Hokage's desk, past the exiting elders. They gave him one last scowl before leaving. You know you shouldn't antagonize them, Naruto. One day you will get in trouble for doing it. Naruto shrugged and stared at the old man expectantly. Ah, the reason I called you here. Take a look at this. He held up a black book. Do you know what this is? Naruto shook his head. It's called a bingo book. All of the world's dangerous and missing ninja are listed in it. They have a list of known abilities, a price for their head if someone wants them dead or captured, and a rank from C to SS. Although only one ninja ever managed to get an SS rank. I want you to look at the last page of the book and tell me what you see. He handed the book to Naruto and watched as he flipped through it. When he reached the back, Naruto's eyes widened in shock. I see you found it. Only a handful of genin in history have ever made it into the bingo book. You are only the fourth in Konoha to make it as far as I know. What interests me is the contract you have and how you got it. I've never heard of the Fox contract. Naruto sighed. He figured this would happen someday. He bit his thumb and spread it onto the tattoo he had on his shoulder. Kuchiyus no Jutsu. A puff of smoke later and a fox was sitting on the desk. I was sleeping, master. You could have just called out to me with your mind. I would have come. So this is one of your summons, Naruto. The fox turned towards the Hokage and, surprisingly, bowed. You're the Hokage, I presume. I am Ritsuko, Master Naruto's attendant for the duration of his life. Before you ask, I only bow to my master, my lord, and the ones worthy of my lord or my master's respect. I see. I asked Naruto how it was he came by the Fox contract. You said something about him calling out with his mind, so I assume you can read his thoughts and will be speaking for him. Yes. Before the mission to Wave, my lord offered Master Naruto the chance to obtain the contract by trial of the Fox. Master Naruto accepted knowing that the trial would kill him if he failed. He succeeded and now has authority over all foxes excluding my lord. What does this trial entail? The Hokage was worried that Naruto would do something so dangerous, but that was the life of a ninja. At least he survived. I do not know. Only my lord and all eight-tailed foxes are knowledgeable of the test. Understandable. That is all I wish to know. Perhaps one day I can speak with one of you about the nature of the foxes. Until now, no such contract was known about, and since you answer to Naruto, it interests me. If you so wish, I can call upon Masashi, one of the current eight-tailed foxes, and he can discuss such matters. I would appreciate it. The fox closed her eyes for several minutes before opening them again. He is coming. If you have a way to prevent Chakra from leaving this room, you should do so now. He is quite large and I'm sure everyone in this village could feel him from here. The Hokage placed the necessary seals over the room as a puff of smoke was emitted. I have come. Where is the Hokage? To say he was big would be an understatement. He was easily 15 feet tall while sitting, a dark green in color with bright yellow eyes. His eight tails swished impatiently behind him. Young Master Naruto, very good to see you again. Naruto waved to the large fox, grinning happily. He then pointed to the Hokage across from him. So this is your Hokage. I am Masashi, the Everlasting Flame. Pleased to make your acquaintance. As I am pleased to make yours, Masashi. Naruto, you still have team training today. You are free to go now. The blonde nodded and made his way to the door. His teammates wowed freak when they hear about his bingo book status. As training came to a close for the day, Sasuke asked Naruto about his visit to the Hokage. He didn't like that the blonde said nothing about it after showing up for training after said meeting. Naruto, what did the Hokage want? Now Sasuke, if the Hokage asked to see Naruto I'm sure it was for a private matter. Naruto doesn't have to say anything. Kakashi couldn't help but be interested as well. He wished to inquire about the fox contract my master now possesses. Ritsuko stared at the copycat ninja. She would have to inform her lord about his training. It was effective and Naruto would need any extra training he could get. I myself have been wondering about that. Kakashi stared at the blonde. Master Naruto nearly died obtaining the contract, that is all I can say. That is fair. However, I'm sure there was something else to be said. He would not have been gone for such a long time if it was just for that, correct? Mater Naruto is now listed in the bingo book. Kakashi's eye widened. He is in the bingo book. Sensei, what is the bingo book? Sakura was listening to the conversation being held in front of her. She didn't understand how someone as young as Naruto managed to get a hold of a contract, but she was willing to let it slide for now. He would tell them eventually. The bingo book is a book all jounin and above level ninja have. It lists all ninja in the elemental nations that are considered missing nin or are dangerous. Some countries even put bounties on the ninja in them if they harbor a grudge against one of the ninja. Sakura's eyes widened. Naruto was a dangerous ninja. That didn't seem right. He was stronger than he was a few months ago, but he seemed too young to be a dangerous ninja. Kakashi-sensei, are you in the bingo book? Yes I am. I am considered an A rank threat, though I used to be an S rank. Sasuke raised an eyebrow at his sensei. Kakashi used to be an S rank ninja. He must be one of the best ninja in the village, and he was teaching them. Sensei, how do you get into the bingo book? Sakura's eyebrows were furrowed. Anbu level ninjas sometimes take missions to other countries to observe the ninja that live there. If they find a ninja interesting or powerful, they will give them a listing in the book. I guess another ninja was spying on our wave mission and saw the fox contract in action. Most ninja that have a contract are in the bingo book simply for that. That's probably why Naruto is in it. That's enough about the bingo book. Kakashi, I believe you have something to give the kids. Kakashi nodded. Yes I do. He pulled some papers from one of his pouches and handed one each to his genin. These are forms you need to fill out. What are they for? Sasuke skimmed through the form. Entrance papers for the chunin exams. Kakashi smiled at his students' dumbfounded looks. I believe if you train hard for the next 4 months, you will be ready. You don't have to go if you don't want to, but it's an option. I think we should train first. If we aren't ready by the time the exams roll around, there is no point in entering the exams. Kakashi nodded at Naruto's insight. That's a great idea. Starting tomorrow I will have advanced training for each of you. We will train twice as long and twice as hard, but you should survive. Sakura gulped in fear. Should? Well yeah, let's go with should. Kakashi smiled and his students shivered in dread. A week later, Team 7 was close to tears. In Sakura's case, there were tears. How can I hurt so much and not be dead? Sakura sobbed into the tree next to her. Training was done for the day, a little after 6 p.m., and Kakashi had left. This shouldn't be possible. For once I agree with you. Sasuke winced, nursing his bruised ribs. Naruto, how can you still stand? Naruto was standing a distance away from the rest of the team, Ritsuko laying peacefully at his feet. Master Naruto has endured much worse. He still has much to face in the upcoming week. His training with you will be every other week. My lord requires that he train with him as well. 2 questions. Sakura managed to wipe away her tears, pulling herself into a sitting position. Why does Naruto get separate training, and who is training him? Master Naruto has other things to learn and master, things that Kakashi cannot teach. I cannot answer your second question without my lord's permission. Why can't we know? We are his teammates. Sasuke furrowed his brow. He was really getting annoyed at not knowing who this mysterious person was. There are only 2 humans alive who know who my lord is, besides my master. Unless you plan on getting Kakashi or the Hokage to talk, it would be best to forget the matter. Excuse us, we must meet with someone now. Naruto opened his eyes and walked out of the clearing, Ritsuko not far behind. As soon as they were out of sight, Sakura turned to face Sasuke. Should we follow them? Sasuke shook his head. No point. I know where they are going. Naruto. Haku's hugged the blonde violently. Zabuza chuckled at the blonde's face which was slowly turning blue. It's good to see you. Haku's calmed down. You're killing him. Haku's gasped and pulled away from the boy, now heaving for air. How was training today? Haku's face was one of worry. Master Naruto is mostly healed from his injuries sustained today. We start the next phase of training in a few days. Ritsuko was happy with the progress they had made so far, but 4 months would not be enough time to turn her master into a killer. I see. Naruto, may I join you in your training sessions? Naruto furrowed his brows at Haku. You are always welcome to my master's training, Haku. If it is deemed okay, Zabuza will need to be there as well. Why? Zabuza wasn't one for taking orders, especially from a fox. As I said, the next phase of his training starts soon. Lord Hokage, I must protest such a request. Homura was glaring at the young blonde. Naruto was ready to start the next part of his training, but according to Ritsuko, he needed to leave the village to do so. Homura, let them explain themselves before jumping to any conclusions. The Hokage was internally sighing. His advisors really needed to drop the "we hate Naruto" thing. Hokage, you can't be serious. I believe you are an advisor to the Hokage, therefore are to advise him and hold no other power. Since our meeting was with the Hokage and does not require additional attendees, I suggest you leave before I eat you. Homura gaped at Ritsuko. She could be vicious if she wanted to. How dare you speak to, no. How dare you? You are trying to overrule your leader's word with your silver tongue. If you were a fox and tried the same, you would be executed immediately. Leave now and be grateful you Hokage is more forgiving than my lord. The Hokage's jaw would have dropped had he not been in his office. Maybe having a few foxes around wouldn't be that bad. I agree with Ritsuko, you have no business here anymore. You have given your advice and that's all you are required to do. Homura bowed before shuffling out of the room in embarrassment. Well, now that that's done, I must ask once again. You want to leave the village until the chunin exams, train Naruto in the required fields as you call them, and effectively cease training with his team until after the exams are over. That is correct. Master Naruto will be harnessing the power bestowed by my lord, and from what I understand of this village, that would cause an uproar amongst civilians and ninja alike. But it would, but that's not my concern. My concern lies with Naruto and what Kyuubi's chakra will do to him. Truth be told, the homage didn't like the idea of Naruto using that chakra. He was rather against the idea. That is precisely why I request he be allowed to leave. There will come times where using my lord's chakra will be effective and possibly necessary. If he has no experience with it, it is a wasted talent and a hindrance. I have no doubt Master will be able to control it at an acceptable level come the exams. Changes are possible though. The old man raised an eyebrow. What sort of changes? Physical ones. Prolonged exposure to the chakra could cause a mutation of sorts. Claws, hair color, eye changes. The possibility of ears and a tail are present as well. Naruto went wide-eyed at that. He didn't know he could change physically from this training. I am sure Naruto will be able to handle whatever may occur, but perhaps we should ask him if he wants to continue with that kind of training. From his reaction, he must have not known about the possible changes. The two turned to the blonde. Now Naruto wasn't a quitter, but he wasn't exactly gunning for a nice pair of fox ears. If he could get closer to becoming Hokage through the training, he would definitely take the chance, but what if he did grow ears? Or a tail? The villagers would surely hate him even more for that, thinking the fox was taking over. What about Haku? Would she still like him if he changed? Could they still be friends? Naruto groaned in annoyance. It wasn't really an easy choice. Stay as he is, or be closer to becoming Hokage with the possibility of losing important people in his dream. Wait a moment, what kind of ninja backs down in the face of adversity? If he can't take this chance, how will he be able to lead a village? Making tough decisions was a normal part of being Hokage. With a new resolve he began to write. I will take that chance. I can't back down now. Hiruzen smiled at the boy. That was very mature of him. Alright. I hereby give Genin, Naruto Uzumaki, permission to leave the village in order to train for the chunin exams. Naruto smiled at that. He would be stronger soon. Would it be acceptable to send a few Anbu along as well? Zabuza and Haku will be joining us. Hiruzen blinked. Why will they be accompanying you? Zabuza will be teaching Master Naruto Kenjutsu. Haku will not like being alone for several months. The Anbu would be assurance that they will not run, though I doubt they will. Haku's is rather fond of my master. Naruto blushed at the statement. The Hokage grinned. I suppose it will be alright on one condition. I won't send Anbu, but rather I'll send the rest of Naruto's team. It would be good for him to have his team there so they can grow together. I will make sure Kakashi doesn't interfere with your training, as long as you help the others in some way as well. Ritsuko made the fox equivalent of a frown. They cannot interfere no matter what. Even if Master Naruto is in extreme pain and crying out for help, unless I give the okay, they are not allowed to do anything. My master's training will be Zabuza's and my own priority. I will not be ordered around, and neither will my party. I believe that is acceptable. He was worried about the crying for help statement, but there wouldn't be anything he could do. Training will be painful and must occur, there is no easy way to gain strength. When will you leave? As soon as the others are ready and gathered. We will travel the rest of the day and make a camp where we will train at for the duration of our leave. That should be plenty room from Konoha for my lord's chakra to not be felt. Alright. I'll send for Kakashi's and his team. Get Zabuza and Haku when you go to pack. They will meet you at the gate in an hour. Both Naruto and Ritsuko nodded. Ritsuko did not like having Kakashi's tag along, but there wasn't much she could do about it. They left with haste towards the Uchiha compound. The Hokage shook his head at their retreating forms. He will surely surpass his father. When is the question now? So we are leaving. Haku was in the midst of packing. Naruto and Ritsuko were sitting on her bed, they had finished earlier. Correct. We will be gone until the chunin exams. Master Naruto needs to train in a space he won't be bothered in. Who else is coming? Haku turned away from the blonde so he couldn't see her blush. The thought of them being alone for that long was almost too much to bear. Zabuza will be accompanying us to teach Naruto Kenjutsu. Kakashi's team and Kakashi himself will be there as well for extra training. Haku felt sad that so many were going, but at least she wouldn't be embarrassed by being alone with Naruto. You ready yet? Zabuza poked his head in the door. It's almost time to meet. Just a few more things. I'll meet you two there, so go on ahead. Naruto hopped off of the bed and gave Haku a small hug. Her face flushed, but she hid it the best she could. Ritsuko trotted out the door behind him, Zabuza trailing behind. Yo. Kakashi waved lazily at the approaching figures. Sasuke and Sakura bristled at Zabuza, making him laugh. I'm not a ninja of Konoha yet, but I'm not going to kill you. The pair visibly eased at the declaration. Where is the young lady? The silver-haired Jounin scanned the area for Haku. Isn't she coming as well? She will be with us shortly. Plenty of time for me to explain how this will go. Kakashi, I'm sure the Hokage explained the stipulations of you joining us. Kakashi slumped. Yes, he did. Good. This is directed at the other two then. Master Naruto takes precedence over anyone else on this training trip. If he wishes to train with Zabuza, he will. I am to help you if I can, but only when not training my master. If this is a problem, leave now. Sakura huffed indignantly. Why does Naruto get special treatment? That's not fair to the rest of us. Master Naruto, unlike you two, actually has to be physically away from the village to train. It would be dangerous to him and others if he trains close to others. You are receiving normal training. Kakashi is here to make sure Zabuza and Haku don't run. So? We are just as important as he is. My lord actually cares if Master Naruto dies or not. Sakura shut up quickly. Sorry. I'm here now. The group turned to see Haku jogging down the street towards them. Am I late? Right on time, Haku. Now that we are all here, we can head out. Kakashi nodded to the others and led the way out of the village. Kit. Naruto awoke in his sower. More precisely, his sower. What is it? It's going to be painful. The blonde rolled his eyes. I knew that. Not just training. From the moment you set foot back in your village, life for you will be different. You will experience loss and pain that few do. I know it won't be easy, but I will do what must be done. I have to get stronger to protect Haku and become Hokage. You have stopped complaining about the loss of your voice. Do you no longer wish to have it? Naruto did a double take at that. Are you stupid? Of course I want my voice back. The grin from the fox was unsettling to say the least. Kyuubi was planning something. Very well. I take back my previous statement. I will give it back if you fulfill 3 things. Think of it like a game. It's going to take a long time, but it shouldn't be too hard for you. What do I have to do? The scroll appeared in front of the blonde. It was dripping in blood and sealed shut. Put your blood on this. It's a binding contract between the two of us. If you complete the tasks, then I will be forced to give you your voice back. If I don't, I will fade. Naruto took the scroll gingerly. What are the tasks? You won't know until you seal the contract. I swear on my honor as Demon Lord that they are not impossible. Naruto furrowed his brows. That was vague beyond belief. Yet it was only 3 things. After that, he would gain his voice. Kyuubi said once before that he would never lie, so it should be safe. He bit his thumb and drew it across the seal. Naruto awoke in a cold sweat. He looked around himself in confusion before realizing he was at the campsite. Letting out a sigh of relief, he fell back onto his sleeping bag with a crinkle. Wait, sleeping bags don't crinkle. He sat up and reached underneath the bag. What he found was something he had yet to read. The bloody contract. With shaking hands, he unfurled it. His tasks were the blonde gulped. He was fucked. I think we should get started as soon as possible, Naruto. What do you propose we do? Naruto was questioning why Kakashi was asking him about a training schedule of all things. He was just a genin. From what he has seen and what he knows about them, he could probably make a schedule for everyone, even if it is a shoddy one. The first month should be spent on weaknesses. After that 2 months will be spent on various things, Kenjutsu, speed, strength, chakra control and the like. The last month should be spent on honing 1 or 2 skills that they are already proficient in. Sasuke should learn ninjutsu and Sakura should learn genjutsu. The team will be well balanced if we have a genjutsu and ninjutsu user. Master Naruto will focus on speed, taijutsu, and kenjutsu for a month. After that we will move further from the group for the final month. It will be just Master Naruto and myself. Kakashi was silent, taking in the information. The plan had merit and wouldn't be impossible to accomplish. I think that would be good. Why would you be leaving for the final month though? I know you have to control your other chakra, but why can't that be done with the others? How would you feel if you were a genin and felt the most powerful chakra known to humans just a few feet away? Kakashi mentally face-palmed. I see your point. We will only go far enough to not be seen. You will still be able to feel us, Kakashi. Well, that will be okay. Zabuza and Haku will stay here, so I feel better about it. He stood up and stretched. Our watch is up. Go wake up Haku and Zabuza, I'll get the other two. It's time to start training. -4 months later, the party of 6 stood before the gates of Konoha, an imposing and grand sight to those that have not seen it before. Kakashi was happy to be back home. Zabuza and Haku were relieved that they would no longer be monitored. Naruto was indifferent to the scene. Sasuke and Sakura were both relieved to be home, for they felt something during the trip that changed their opinion of their teammate. They felt his power. During the last month they were away, Naruto forced himself into overdrive, training non-stop from dawn to dusk. The chakra they felt was malevolent. It was like evil took on a form and laid itself on top of them. When they asked Kakashi about it, he brought them aside for one of the very few serious talks they ever had with him. He said it was Naruto, and if they told anyone about it, the penalty was death. They never asked again. They had a healthy respect for the blonde now. Sasuke was even nicer than usual, and Sakura stopped belittling him completely. Naruto didn't change just physically though, he changed mentally as well. After he rejoined the group from his month-long chakra training, he seemed more like a battle-hardened veteran than a boy. It was unnerving. Well, looks like our stop kids. Zabuza growled at Kakashi for calling him a kid. Make sure you go to sleep early, the exams are tomorrow. I have no doubt that you will all do splendidly. Sakura nodded and left for home without a word. Kakashi soon followed with an eye smile. The rest headed for the Uchiha compound. Sasuke kept eyeing Naruto out of the corner of his eye, and Naruto kept ignoring it. Finally he just asked. What were you doing the last month of training? Zabuza and Haku were both wondering the same thing, but respected the blonde enough not to ask outright. Chakra control. For a month. Sasuke doubted what Ritsuko told him. Correct. That's all I will tell you. If Master Naruto wants to tell you more, then that is at his discretion. Sasuke huffed and glared at the blonde. They weren't the greatest of friends, but they were teammates. They should be able to tell each other anything. They reached the compound shortly, Naruto barred himself in his room and Ritsuko stood guard outside. Sasuke went on home, grumbling along the way. What do you think happened, Zabuza? Haku sat in the living area downstairs, Zabuza was cleaning his sword. Nothing that he can't handle, Haku. Besides, it happens to most ninja eventually. Haku was concerned by that. What do you mean? Most ninjas see or do something in their career that breaks them. They become distant and unsocial. Naruto just had it happen earlier than most. He will be fine, but it might be best to let him be for a while. Haku frowned and glanced at the staircase. It didn't seem right to let him be alone right now. Naruto was on guard when his bedroom door opened. Ritsuko was supposed to send anyone who tried to visit him away. He glanced discreetly at the door to see. Naruto? Are you awake? Haku whispered towards his bed. Ritsuko said I could come in. The blonde sighed and sat up slowly. No point in pretending she wasn't here. She softly made her way to his bed and sat at its end. Naruto grabbed his chalkboard and stared at Haku. What did you need, Haku? Naruto, why are you ignoring everyone? It's not like you to do something like this. Naruto sighed. Of course it was about training. It's nothing, Haku. I'm fine. Naruto, that's a lie. Haku, I'm fine. I just want to be alone. The Naruto I knew wouldn't try to hide from a problem. He wouldn't ignore his friends. He wouldn't ignore me. Haku turned away from the blonde. She was sad that he couldn't see that pushing everyone away was ruining what they had. I want to talk to you again. I want things to be like they were. Naruto lay a hand on Haku's shoulder. He just wanted to be alone. He learned things that he shouldn't have known yet, things that could be the death of him, but they didn't understand. He pulled Haku into his arms and embraced her. She gasped and tears ran down her cheeks. Her heartache lessened and she pushed him back with the force of her hug. After a few deep breaths, she realized that she was laying on top of him. She flushed deeply and rushed to get off, but he held her still. She looked at him in confusion, but he just rolled her to his side, pulling her close. The declaration was clear and Haku was happy to oblige him. She hugged him tightly and relaxed, letting sleep overtake her. Naruto smiled at her. Maybe he could tell her, maybe she would understand. Before he lost his nerve, he kissed her forehead and settled into his pillow, excited for the exams tomorrow. You all showed up. That's good. If one of you didn't, I'd have to send the others away since you have to compete in teams of 3. Kakashi smiled at his students. You couldn't have said that earlier. Sakura steamed at her sensei. Oops. I forgot. Team 7 deadpanned at their sensei. Kakashi just kept on smiling. Go on now. You don't want to be late for your exam. Kakashi disappeared in a puff of smoke. Sometimes I hate sensei. Sakura grumbled and continued on towards the exam building. They didn't make it very far before they heard a yell. "Watch it, you little brat." The group turned towards the sound. They saw Konohamaru, the grandson of the third Hokage, being held in the air by an unknown ninja. "Let me go. You bumped into me, you brat, I want an apology. Put me down." Konohamaru kicked at the air but wasn't able to pull himself free. "Kankuro, put him down before you make a scene." A blonde ninja grabbed Kankuro's shoulder. "Like hell I will, Tamari. He owes me an apology and I'm not letting go until I get it." The blonde sighed in defeat. "You asked for it. I'm not a part of your troublemaking." Naruto approached the ninja with a steeled gaze. He grabbed the wrist that held Konohamaru and squeezed tightly. "Who the hell are you?" Kankuro glared at the blonde. "I asked you a question, are you deaf?" "Actually, he's mute." Sasuke grasped Kankuro's shoulder. "Now why don't you put down the Hokage's grandson before you get into trouble?" "I don't take orders from leaf ninjas, so why don't you shut the hell up?" "Put him down." The deep voice echoed across the group, pulling their gaze up into the tree next to them. "Jigara. Shut up, Kankuro, or I'll kill you." Kankuro obeyed the redhead and dropped Konohamaru, backing up slightly. "I apologize if he made a scene. I'll make sure it doesn't happen again. Come now, Kankuro and Tamari." He strode off, the other two following him quickly. "Well, that was interesting." Sakura quipped. "Can we go to the exam room now? I'm nervous enough without all of these distractions." Before they could walk away, a flash of smoke erupted, Ritsuko appearing, looking frazzled. "Master Naruto. You must see this now." She put the book in her mouth down and Naruto immediately recognized it. He picked it up nervously and began to search for his name. When he found it, his eyes widened in terror and surprise. Name: Naruto Uzumaki. Age: 13. Status: son of the fourth Hokage. Alias: the Silent Fox. Rank: High C. Skills: High Genin level Ninjutsu. Low Chunin level Taijutsu. Mid Genin level Kinjutsu. No known Genjutsu. Achievements: used only words to subdue an associate of Zabuza Mamachi, in turn subduing Zabuza himself. Only known holder of the Fox contract. Known Jinchuriki, holder of the Kyuubi. Proficient in Kage Bunshin no Jutsu and has been cited making over 100 clones at a time. User of an old Taijutsu form known as Fukusu Ken. Considered very dangerous and is not to be approached by any lower than Jounin. Large numbers are suggested for taking him down. Bounty: 45,000, Ryo dead. Kumo 65,000, Ryo dead. Iwa. He quickly hid the book. His teammates didn't need to know what and who he was. "What does it say, Naruto?" Sakura was intrigued by the blonde's reaction. "It does not concern you, Sakura." "Master, we must inform Kakashi immediately." "I doubt he knows yet." Naruto shook his head. "Let the Hokage tell him. He already knows, I'm sure. Besides, there is no point in getting riled up over this. As long as no one else finds out, we are in the clear." "Alright. After the exams we will tell him anyways, in case the Hokage does not." Naruto nodded in agreement. "What is going on?" Sakura glared at the two, having their own conversation, leaving her and Sasuke out of it. "We are your teammates, so we deserve to know." "You're stupid beyond reason, girl. Every being has secrets to keep. Things they don't even tell even their most trusted companion." "Ritsuko is right." Sasuke stepped up. "As much as I want to know what's going on, Naruto has every right to not say anything. I know I have secrets that neither of you knows about and I'd prefer to keep it that way." Sakura tried to protest, but the others just ignored it. She huffed and followed them to the building the exams were being held in. Team 7 made it. They were in the room to take their exam and hopefully become chunin. They passed by the genin that stopped them on floor 2 with a genjutsu. They almost got into another fight with the team from Suna as well. Luckily enough, they reached the room before the altercation came to blows. Now they stood in front of a silver-haired genin with glasses. He was talking about ninfo cards, something he made that has stats on a bunch of different ninja. Sasuke, in his effort to kind of stand up for Naruto's secrets before, lost that when he asked about the blonde. "What do you have on Naruto Uzumaki?" Naruto glared daggers at the Uchiha, but he stood firm. Let's see. Whoa, what?" Sasuke raised an eyebrow. What was the surprise? "Well, Naruto Uzumaki, Genin, 13. Known as the Silent Fox. In the bingo book is a C ranked, 1 of 4 to make it into the bingo book is a Genin. Completed 15 D ranks and 1 C rank. He holds the Fox contract and defeated Zabuza Mamachi in combat. The place was so silent you could have heard a pin drop from a mile away. He received an array of death glares from every village except Konoha. His fellow classmates were staring in awe and shock. Listen up, maggots. I'm a tall Jounin stormed into the room, ready to lay into the fresh genin, but it seemed that they were already doing that themselves. Hey. Look at me when I'm speaking to you. Now come take a number and then take a seat. Soon enough, every genin in the room was seated. Time for the exam to begin. Alright. I'm your Jounin proctor for the first part of the chunin exams, Marino Ibiki. I will have a chunin pass out your exam papers. While he does this, I will explain the rules of this test. Unlike normal tests, you start out with a perfect score here, at 10 out of 10. For each wrong question you get, you lose a point. If you are caught cheating, you lose 2 points. Getting caught cheating 3 times results in you losing all of your points immediately. If any member of your team loses all of their points, all members are disqualified and will fail. He grinned maniacally at the semi-frightened students. This would be fun. Now, you have 1 hour to do the first 9 questions. The 10th question will be given after 45 minutes have passed. Begin. A rustling of papers and pen scratching could be heard like a whirlwind throughout the room. Over half of the participants had been removed by this point. Few left willingly and one boy even cried at being disqualified. Naruto and his team were sitting easy. Sakura knew the answers easily due to her book smarts, Sasuke copied someone else with his Sharingan, and Ritsuko just told Naruto the answers via mind link. While waiting for the 45-minute mark, Naruto and Ritsuko were having a rather interesting conversation. I don't care what you do with your body, master. It is your own to do with as you please. I know that, I was just asking your opinion on it. Getting another tattoo is up to you. Whether or not your teammates will get matching ones is a mystery. Can't you just intimidate them? I'd rather not. Sakura is already scared of me, and Sasuke may or may not hate me. It's hard to tell with that boy. Any ideas on what I can do to make them? A few if you are serious about pursuing this endeavor. Care to share? Well, Sasuke will be easy as long as you. Alright maggots, 45 minutes have passed. Now for the last question. Before I give it to you, you must choose whether or not you will take it. If you choose not to take it, you will fail immediately. A roar of anger erupted from the kids. Why the hell wouldn't they take it then? However, if you take it and fail, you will be barred from ever taking the chunin exams again. You will be Genin for life. An even larger cry from the angry kids rang out. Shut up. They begrudgingly quieted down. Deal with the rules. It's just too bad you got me as proctor this year. Take it next year if you don't feel up to the challenge. Immediately a few hands went up. The teams left complaining and saddened. A minute went by without a hand being raised. Anyone else backing out, cause now's the time to do it. No one else raised their hand. Alright then. For those of you who stayed, you pass. A moment of silence. What? Ibiki chuckled to himself as the kids began yelling at him. This test was just that, a test. You were supposed to gather information without being spotted by the enemy being the chunin watching you. Since the questions were chunin level, it was doubtful that you would get more than 1 or 2 right. I planted to chunin in the room that already knew the answers for you to gather from. The last question was the big one. Can you continue a mission when faced with the unknown? As a chunin, you will be a leader on missions. You will have lives in your hands and sometimes you must make sacrifices. Complete the mission and protect your village. Ibiki slowly removed the bandana on top of his head, revealing nasty burns, large scars, and what looked like screw holes. You do whatever it takes to keep information out of enemy hands, even at the cost of your own life. If you can't be willing to face the unknown and face your possible death, then you don't deserve to be a chunin. Now, the first part is over and the wall to the right of Ibiki smashed into pieces. Kunai flew through the new opening and pinned a banner to the ceiling. The forever sexy and single, Anko Mitarashi. A young purple-haired woman walked in through the hole and grinned, sending shivers down many spines. I'm Anko Mitarashi, and I'm proctor for the second part of the exam. She gave a disappointed look at the crowd and then turned to Ibiki. There are too many here, Ibiki. You're getting soft. Ibiki growled at her. I am not. There are a lot of good candidates this year. Anko rolled her eyes and turned back to the still shivering group. Meet me at training ground 44 tomorrow at 9 AM. If you are even a second late you will disqualified. Now leave. The students rushed to get out of the same building as the crazy Jounin lady. Please don't tell me you are actually serious about this. Sakura's eye twitched at the white fox, walking away from the exam building. I am only conveying what Master Naruto was interested in. Regardless of what you and Sasuke decide, he will get a tattoo. He says it will bring you 3 closer together and to think of it as team bonding. Naruto, did you really think I would get a tattoo? Sakura glared at the blonde. He shrugged with indifference, making her sigh in exasperation. Sasuke, are you getting one? Sasuke shrugged with indifference. Why can't anyone just be clear? Master Naruto says he will go shopping with you one time, hold all of your bags, and pay for one item of his choosing. Sakura perked up a bit at that. He also says that he will convince the girl Sasuke likes to let him take her on a date. Sakura's head seemed mechanical as it turned toward Sasuke, who now sported a faint blush. I will consider it. He also says that he will tell everyone who it is if you do not agree. What are we getting and when? Sakura's jaw was hanging open in disbelief. Sasuke had a crush on a girl and he was now getting a tattoo. Before she could ask who, a familiar face appeared before them. Yo. Kakashi smiled lazily at his team from behind his poor erotic literature. I heard that my cute Genin passed the first part of the exams. Sasuke likes a girl, Naruto knows who it is, and he just convinced Sasuke to get a tattoo with him. Sakura couldn't hold it in. This was too much all at once. She had to yell at someone, so why not Kakashi? Kakashi stared blankly at his team. Like team bonding. That's nice. Sakura wanted to cry. Even he was on board and he completely ignored the part about Sasuke liking a girl. Master Naruto wishes to let you know that you are welcome to come Kakashi. Sure. A team tattoo sounds fun. What are we getting? That is how Sakura found herself in a tattoo parlor, surrounded by her team discussing cool and weird things to permanently ink on their bodies. Ino would never let her live it down. Can I just pretend I got one? Sakura was watching as the artist was finishing on Naruto's. Sasuke and Kakashi were already done, sitting to the side. Naruto glared at her. Master Naruto says either it is done here or he will have me hold you down and he will do it himself. It may take a while, but he will get it done. That didn't sit well with Sakura. Better a professional than an angry Naruto. She was glad she convinced them to just get an intricate number 7 rather than all of their names. All done. Miss, if you're ready then please sit down. Naruto stood up and went to sit with Kakashi and Sasuke. She gave a fearful glance to Ritsuko. The fox bared her teeth in amusement as Sakura took a seat. Where do you want it? She turned to Naruto, pleading with her eyes. He just smiled and waved. Sakura sighed in defeat. She remembered Ino talking about girls in a magazine before. She said that their tattoos made them sexier or something like that. Most had 1 or 2 on their hips, so maybe she just put it there. My hip. Okay, I'll need you to pull your shorts down then. Sakura stared at the man, mortified. He sighed. I'm not a pervert, but I can't tattoo through clothing. You don't have to take them off, but they need to be pulled down a bit at least. That made her feel a bit better, but she still felt violated. She reluctantly pulled them down only as far as needed. She squeezed her eyes closed, waiting for the pain to come. Ow. She held herself from jerking and reflexed to the jab. The man signed. This one would take a while. Why does it hurt that much? I am repeatedly stabbing you with a needle. It will hurt. She bit back another cry, waiting for it to be done. Ritsuko's smile never left. Sasuke got his on his neck, Kakashi got it on his lower back, Naruto's was on his shoulder opposite his fox summoning one. Naruto looked proud of himself, Sasuke was fighting a smile, Kakashi was reading, and Sakura winced in pain. I can't believe I just got a tattoo. She grumbled at Naruto. I'm blaming you for any repercussions that come from this. Naruto just shrugged and continued on with his proud look. Sasuke lightly cleared his throat to get Naruto's attention. You said you will help me, he was obviously holding back a smile. Can we do that now? Naruto nodded. Sakura was angry that she wasn't invited, but she would know about it by tomorrow. All it would take is a little prodding. Sakura was stumped. She recruited Ino to help her find out who this mysterious girl that Sasuke liked was. They searched for hours and asked several people about it, but no one knew about the last Uchiha having a crush. Waiting for Sasuke to show up the next day at training ground 44 was even worse. Naruto wouldn't and couldn't say anything without Sasuke's approval. Not that Sakura cared, but she was seriously wondering when the two of them became as close as they are. It's like one day they just stopped fighting and became best friends. When is Sasuke going to get here? She murmured to herself. She wanted to know, so she was just going to ask. Hopefully he would say something, anything about who it was. Sakura. Sakura jumped at the fox's voice. She never really got over her slight fear of Ritsuko. Yeah. She turned to see a white fox and a bashful-looking blonde. Before I say what I plan on saying, I must ask you to keep this to yourself. It is not necessarily life or death, but this is what my master's wishes. Sure, Sakura was kind of confused, but decided against saying no. Maybe she could learn something from the blonde about Sasuke's new crush. Master Naruto would like to ask your opinion on places for a date. I do not know enough about human customs to give an accurate assessment of locations. Date? Sakura's eyebrows shot up quickly. Oh. You mean like taking a girl out date? Correct. I don't know. You should ask Ino, she would know better than I would. Ritsuko raised her brow on one side. I was under the impression that you knew things like this since you are female. Well, so are you. I am. However, Master Naruto did not like my ideas of courtship. With foxes it is simple. Males fight over a female and the winner beds with the female they won. Sakura tried to ignore what was just said, but she couldn't. That was an interesting way of dating. She tried to shake it from her mind. Where is Sasuke at? He is on his way. He needed his beauty sleep. As though by magic, Sasuke came walking into the clearing before the training grounds. Sasuke. The Uchiha growled at Sakura. She stopped her advances and stared. Did he just growl? Naruto. He tossed a small bundle to the blonde. I got them. You owe me a lot of Ryo now. They weren't cheap. Naruto shrugged his shoulders and undid the bundle. Inside were 2 knives, both about 16 inches long. The blades were 10 inches in length, matte black and thin. The edges were both sharpened to a point, giving them a dagger-like appearance. The handles were metal, wrapped in a blue leather grip. 2 leather holsters were present as well, both a deep blue color. Naruto grinned, obviously happy with his new weapons. He strapped one holster to his left thigh and the other to his right. "Sasuke. Can I ask you something?" Sakura flinched at the growl he gave off once again. "Who is the girl you like?" Sasuke seemed to grow depressed, his head hung slightly. He was shot down for being, and I quote, "an arrogant ass who only cares about restoring the Uchiha clan so he can go politely sit on a dick." I found it humorous. Sasuke was embarrassed, but Sakura was confused. Who would turn down Sasuke? She thought what the girl said was funny as well, but she would never admit to it. So who was it? A recent friend of Naruto's. "Do you know of the Inuzuka?" Sakura's mouth fell open. "You liked Tsume?" Sasuke liked Kiba's mom, what the hell? "No. He has a crush on Hana, Tsume's daughter and Kiba's older sister. I believe he was in your class." Sakura was twitching. "Since when?" I believe Sasuke's exact words were, "I saw her attending to a stray cat one time and I thought her face markings were hot." He told her that, but as you can see, it didn't work out so well. "Since when were you friends with Hana?" Sasuke set off Sakura's rant before it could go any further. "You barely talk to Kiba and I doubt you know Tsume well enough to be friendly towards her daughter. Last night while everyone was asleep, Master Naruto went to the Hokage about a newfound problem he has." The Hokage pointed him in the Inuzuka's direction. After explaining, both Tsume and Hana helped him fix it. "Tsume was very sweet and took a liking to my master." Before Naruto's comrades could question him about his problem, a familiar and very scary voice boomed out across the clearing. "It's 9 AM brats. Time for the second part of the chunin exams." Anko eyed the crowd deviously. "Seems you all made it. Now I will explain the rules." "There are none." Most of the genin gave her a confused look. "Anything goes for this part, including killing. Each team will be given a scroll, either heaven or earth. Once inside the training grounds you must make your way to the tower in the center. To pass you need both a heaven and earth scroll, as well as all 3 teammates alive. If you want to forfeit, now is the time to do it. Once inside, you have 5 days to reach the tower and you will not be let out until the 5 days have passed." She beckoned for a chunin on standby to start passing out forms. "These are the waivers you must sign in order to compete. They state that Konoha is not responsible for your death if you do die during this part. Once they are signed, you may make your way to the tent over there and exchange your waivers for a scroll and gate number. Go wait by your gate, we will begin in 10 minutes. Anko was surprised that all of the genin signed the forms, but she didn't care one way or another. Naruto and company made their way to gate 13 after collecting their heaven scroll. "I smell danger. Be on your guard, there is something dangerous lurking here." The 3 nodded and waited for the signal to begin. A bang was heard and gate 13 opened. They sprinted into the wilderness, ready for what they were to face, or so they thought. Flashback. "Master Naruto, you must be calm. That is the only way you will ever be able to master the chakra my lord has given you. I am trying my hardest, Ritsuko. That is why you are failing. You think of this energy as a faucet. You believe you may turn it off or on at will, but that is not the case. It is like a river that runs through your veins, it cannot be stopped, but with enough guidance can be changed. Direct the flow, but do not stem it or you will create a dam that will inevitably burst and eventually kill you." Naruto took a deep breath and calmed himself. "Direct, but don't stem." He let the malicious chakra fill his body. It made him cringe in pain. Instead of forcing it to mold, he let it mold itself, flowing through him alongside his normal chakra. The pain slowly faded and he found himself smiling at what he accomplished. "Thank you, Ritsuko. We must speak." Ayubi's voice echoed in Naruto's mind. The blonde frowned. He was only a week away from completing the training he needed for the chunin exams. He didn't need distractions. "What is it?" "I don't quite understand it myself, but it might relate to my chakra being allowed to roam free for so long. I remember what happened the day I attacked. It was foolish of me to forget, but that damnable Uchiha must have messed with my memories." "What do you mean? What happened?" "I must have had memories transferred to me from him, there is no other explanation." Naruto raised an eyebrow. "I don't understand what Sasuke did, but I'll hit him for you if you want." "No, it wasn't him. I remember being sealed inside a woman. She gave birth to a son and was left weakened, allowing my prison to weaken as well. The Uchiha forced me out and controlled me with a Sharingan. I was forced to attack your village and do his bidding. I fought the 4th Hokage and then I was sealed inside of the woman's son." The revelation hit Naruto like a bolt of lightning, shocking him to his core. "Why, my mom was a Jinchuriki." "Yes, but that is not all. The 4th Hokage, he was her mate. Present day, Naruto." The blonde shook himself out of his stupor, staring at the person the voice belonged to. He smiled weakly at his pink-haired teammate. Now was not the time to daydream, especially about that day. Although it was probably his fault for getting upgraded in the bingo book for yelling it out loud after Kyuubi's story. Finally. We've been trying to get your attention for 10 minutes now. Ritsuko said to leave you alone, but we have to move now. Sasuke senses other ninja approaching. Lucky for us, they don't seem to be quick. Master Naruto was in deep thought. You shouldn't have distracted him. Whatever. We have been camped here for a few hours, we should start searching for an earth scroll immediately. The earlier we get to the tower, the more rest we can have. Naruto nodded in agreement and dragged himself off of the ground. They are here. Three Iwa Genin appeared quickly from behind a large tree, spreading out slowly, grinning at their enemies. Lucky us, we found a bunch of Konoha scum to mop the floor with. Genin number 1 smirked at his teammate's declaration. Genin number 3 spit at Team 7. Fucking leaf. All of you are trash. Naruto sighed and motioned for Sasuke to pass over the scroll. He frowned in confusion, but did so anyway. Their faces brightened slightly. Just what we need too. Genin number 2 flashed an earth scroll at the leaf Genin. Hand it over and we won't kill you. Fight for it. I will watch over your scrolls while you do. Last team standing wins. Like hell we will. You'll just take them and run. Do you think we're that stupid? If we win, I keep the scrolls. If we lose, we won't be able to make it before time is up. We will be weakened enough that you could take them by force if we didn't hand them over. It's a win-win. Fine, but if we win, we also want the pink-haired one. We would like to relax before this part of the exam is over. Genin number 2 chuckled and threw the scroll towards Ritsuko. Before it is the ground, 5 of the Genin were suddenly on their knees, the air saturated with enough chakra to drown a village and enough malevolence to make the Hokage wet his robes. They won't lay a hand on Sakura, not one single finger. Naruto burst into a red ball of chakra, crackling and hissing at the environment. When the excess light finally faded, they could all see the blonde. His pupils were slit, nails longer like claws, sharp and ready to tear. His canines had grown slightly in length, and his whisker marks were more pronounced, giving him a more feral look. The Iwa Genin were crawling backwards, trying to escape the changed boy. Sasuke's eyes were wide, and Sakura's hand covered her mouth. They were both thinking the same thing. This was the chakra they felt during training. Naruto flew through hand seals like lightning. Gyuden. Inodoru. The air around the blonde compressed into sharp veins, then lashed forward with impressive speed towards Genin number 1. The Genin was too paralyzed with fear to even dodge. The needles hit him, drilling small holes all over his body. His teammates came to their senses somewhat and cried out at their fallen comrade. Gyuden. Toshoku no Ha. Naruto began to spin his wrist around quickly, forming a small ring of condensed wind chakra. The ring grew to 3 feet in diameter before he let it fly at Genin number 3. This Genin didn't fare any better. He tried to love out of its path, but stumbled. Instead of behind sliced in two, his right leg was cut off at the knee. He screamed in pain as he fell, clutching at his now bloody stump. Naruto approached the last Genin swiftly. He raised a hand to his head and smiled. The Iwa Genin tried to plead for his life. Just take the scroll. Please, my team is dead and I can't beat you. Please don't kill me. I don't want to hhhhh. Naruto pressed his hand into the Iwa ninja's forehead, pumping the Kyuubi's chakra through his system. After a few agonizing seconds, Genin number 3 fell silent. Naruto pulled away and looked back at his teammates. Both pairs of eyes were wide open, Sasuke's in shock, Sakura's in fear. The blonde walked calmly to Sakura and gently placed his hands on her shoulders. He gave her a reassuring smile, warming the pink-haired ninja's heart. He just wanted to protect his team. He did all of this for me. Naruto nodded to Sasuke, letting him watch over the other two. After a few deep breaths, he calmly walked around the nearest tree. A second later, vomit could be heard splattering against the trunk. Neither Sasuke nor Sakura could really blame him though. To witness what just happened made their stomachs turn. To actually be the ones doing it. It took a few moments, then finally the vomiting stopped. A thump followed. This raised concern in the blonde's teammates, but before they could do anything, Ritsuko halted them. Master Naruto is my responsibility, I will fetch him in a moment. He simply passed out from exhaustion, a surprising feat considering how much natural chakra he has. I suggest we stay here tonight as well. We can leave in the morning. Concern for Naruto was present, but neither disagreed with Ritsuko. They could use some rest after this, even if they did nothing. Naruto awoke to the sound of an angel. Naruto. Okay, not an angel. Naruto. He opened his eyes slowly and saw his teammates and Ritsuko hovering over him. Oh thank Kami, we thought you'd never wake up. You've been unconscious for almost a day. We were getting worried. The blonde sat up and rubbed his eyes. Was he really out a whole day? The memories of what happened came flooding back to him, making him nauseous again. What happened to you Naruto? You look different. Sakura stared in concern at Naruto. You can't tell us. We are your teammates, which means we will be here for you no matter what. Perhaps they can be told now, master. They have already seen your physical changes and will find out sooner or later. Naruto nodded hesitantly, letting Ritsuko explain what happened. It happened during the last month of our training for the chunin exams. Master Naruto has a second chakra type in his body. This type of chakra was used for extended periods of time, allowing it to physically alter his body. Sasuke furrowed his brows. So why does it feel so evil? It isn't natural, is it? Correct. The chakra comes from my lord. Are you going to tell us who that is, or are we going to be left out of that secret still? It shouldn't be too hard to figure out. I am a fox. Who is the greatest of all foxes? Both Sasuke and Sakura frowned in confusion before it hit them. Kyuubi, once again you are correct. When the fourth Hokage fought against my lord almost 14 years ago, he did not kill him. My lord was sealed inside of a newborn boy, with hopes that the boy would keep my lord from walking free. That boy was Master Naruto. Sakura frowned. Who would willingly give up their own child for that though? I know that Naruto was an orphan, but if he was just born, his parents were alive then. The fourth Hokage, he was an honorable man. He would never have asked someone to give up their child. He gave up his own child for the village. The two slowly turned towards Naruto. You are the fourth Hokage's son. Sasuke watched as Naruto nodded slowly. Wow. Sakura wasn't much better. The man who single-handedly helped win the war against Iwa and was undoubtedly the greatest Hokage of all time had a son. That boy was on her team. We should get moving. You may question Master Naruto once we reach the tower. We only have 2 days left now. Team 7 slowly got to its feet, preparing for the trek to the tower. They left their temporary camp, unaware of a lone ninja following them. Kukuku. Things are sure turning out to be interesting. Speeding through the trees, Team 7 was in deep thought. Sakura was mad at Naruto for hiding something so important from her and Sasuke, but she could understand why he did. If word got out about him holding the Kyuubi inside of him, there could be a huge problem. Sasuke was interested in what else the blonde could do. He used 2 new techniques that he had never seen before, and something told him that wasn't all the blonde could do. Naruto felt happy that he had finally told someone, though it wasn't really voluntary. It felt like a weight had been lifted from his shoulders. He could breathe easier now. Fukuku. Sasuke, where are you going? The group stopped on a branch and took up a defensive position. I would just like to talk, no need for violence. The figure soon dropped to a nearby branch. It was a shady-looking grass ninja. I don't know you. Leave or we will kill you where you stand. The ninja grinned unnervingly. You can't kill me, Sasuke. I am here to offer you power. Power to beat the one you hate most. Sasuke's eyes narrowed at the declaration. You know nothing. Leave now. The ninja sighed. Oh, Sasuke. I'll have to whip the disobedience out of you. The ninja reached for her face and began to tear it off. With the old one gone, the 3 genin could see a sickly pale man before them, grinning like a snake. I am Orochimaru. Perhaps you have heard of me? The 3 widened their eyes in fear. The second most wanted missing nin from Konoha was right there in front of them. Now then, Sasuke, let's see if you are worth my time. Orochimaru disappeared in a flash. The 3 drew closer to each other, eyes darting around for any sign of their S-ranked enemy. Naruto drew his knives, Sasuke and Sakura drew a pair of kunai. Sasuke caught a glimpse of movement to their right and threw his kunai, hitting the trunk of the tree. Very good. The voice echoed around the forest, sending shivers down the spines of the genin. Naruto sheathed one knife and began hand signs. Gyuden. Maze no Bakuden. Naruto's teammates applied chakra to their feet to hold themselves in place as they felt the air pressure change drastically. A sudden burst of wind blew outwards, violently tearing off many leaves from surrounding trees. As they fluttered to the ground, some seemed to shoot out, like they were hitting another strong wind current. Air. Haten. Pikachu. Sasuke blew a large fireball in the direction of the misplaced leaves. It roared through them, unhindered, exploding against a tree trunk, scorching it badly. That was close, Sasuke. You almost got me, Kukuku. Orochimaru appeared before the 3. His stare froze them in place. It was just like the feeling of Kyuubi's chakra, malevolent and wild. He performed a few hand signs. Now, here's a parting present from me. His neck extended, rapidly approaching the Uchiha and sinking his fangs into his neck. Sasuke cried out in pain as Orochimaru withdrew. I'll be seeing you, Sasuke. Kukuku. The snake man vanished in a flash, releasing the others from how paralyzing gaze. Sasuke. Sakura grabbed his arms as he slumped down on the branch. Master Naruto grabbed Sasuke. Sakura followed closely. We must make it to the tower quickly. The 2 complied without complaint, swiftly running towards the tower. They entered without hindrance, quickly laying Sasuke down. Sakura caught sight of a sign in the small room they were in and deciphered its meaning quickly. She took the scrolls from Ritsuko and opened them both. A small puff of smoke later, Kakashi stood in front of them. Well done. I'm glad you. No time, Kakashi. You must tend to Sasuke. We met Orochimaru and he bit the Uchiha. He has been writhing in pain ever since. Kakashi took one glance at Sasuke before sweeping him into his arms. I'll deal with this. Upstairs you may rest until the 5 days are up. Kakashi left via Shunshin, leaving the two exhausted Genin and a peeved fox. I suggest you get some rest. You will need it for the next part of the exam. Master Naruto, you should reapply your henge in case we meet any others. Naruto couldn't complain about that. After all of the ordeals they dealt with in the forest, the only thing he wanted to do was sleep for a week. After reapplying the henge, both he and Sakura made their way up the stairs, leading them into a small lounge area. There were doors leading away from the rooms, marked with different village symbols. No one was present in the lounge, so they went to the Konoha room. Inside they found 3 people. They were Leaf Ninja based on their attire, but they seemed to be a year or 2 older than they were. It seems another Konoha team made it. The only girl of the bunch waved to them. I don't think I've met you before. I'm Tenten. Sakura smiled lightly. I'm Sakura and this is Naruto. Yosh. The boy in green spandex jumped in front of Sakura, scaring her. Most beautiful Sakura, will you go out with me? Sakura was sputtering in confusion. Naruto smirked and walked towards the opposite side of the room, leaving Sakura to deal with the new boy herself. I don't even know who you are. Yosh. I am Rock Lee. Now will you go out with me beautiful Sakura? Lee. The now named Lee turned to face Tenten. Maybe you should wait and get to know her first. You're right Tenten. I must show her how youthful I am before she will accept my offer. I shall do 2,000 push-ups for you without stopping. If I cannot do that, I will run around Konoha twice on my hands. If I cannot do that, Lee, that's enough. Tenten lightly reprimanded her teammate. Let's wait until the exams are over first. She turned to Sakura. I'm sorry. No, it's fine. Sakura eyed the weird boy out of the corner of her eye. Who is your third teammate? Oh, that's Neji. He doesn't talk much, don't take it personally. I deal with that all the time. Naruto can't talk and Sasuke is a recluse, so it's fine. Tenten raised an eyebrow. Where is Sasuke? Shouldn't he be here since you passed? He got injured. Kakashi-sensei is taking care of him. Tenten nodded, apparently satisfied with the answer. She turned to Naruto. So you can't talk. Why is that? He was betrayed. Tenten jumped at the voice, but her eyes widened when she saw who it belonged to. You can talk. Yes. I am Ritsuko, attendant to Master Naruto. What do you mean he was betrayed? During Master Naruto's time at the academy, a group of Konoha ninja attacked him. That event led to him becoming mute. Tenten stated in disbelief. Neji seemed to be interested in that statement and turned slightly to join the conversation. Lee was appalled. Naruto was attacked by our own ninja. That is very unyouthful. Neji nodded at Naruto, acknowledging his hardship. Tenten caught a glimpse of the handles of Naruto's thighs and smiled. May I look at your weapons Naruto? He raised an eyebrow in confusion. I'm a bit of a nut for weapons. My dad runs a shop and I am a weapon user myself. Naruto nodded and unsheathed one of his knives, tossing it to her. She examined it with a trained eye and gave it a few test swings and thrusts. She smiled once again and tossed it back. It is a beautiful knife. I hope they work well for you. Naruto grinned and sheathed his blade. He stretched out before laying down on one of the beds available, ready for sleep. Master Naruto, I must leave for a while. I will be back in time for the next part of your exam. Ritsuko bowed her head and disappeared in a puff of smoke. The following day passed quickly. Without Ritsuko to talk to, Naruto felt like being alone. He spent the day meditating, ignoring the loud proclamations from Lee. It was very rare he had any time to relax, he would enjoy it while he could. Sakura tried to talk with him, but after a few minutes of being ignored, she left him alone. Keeping Lee away was taking up most of her time, something she didn't enjoy. It was endearing that he was trying so hard to get a date out of her, but she literally met him yesterday. Eventually time was called on the exams. Several teams made it through, but almost half didn't. It came as a shock to Naruto that so many didn't make the deadline. The remaining genin were called to an underground training area where the Hokage and the Jounin instructors waited. To Naruto's surprise, Zabuza's genin in the center of the room, newly adorned leaf hit I-8. Naruto got a glimpse of Sasuke as they were walking in, paler than normal, but otherwise looking well. Once the genin were filed in, Zabuza cleared his throat. I am Zabuza Mamachi, the proctor for the third part of the chunin exams. You will do what I say when I say it or I will beat you to death, got it? His grin had just the right amount of crazy in it. Some of genin that remembered what the silver-haired kid said before the first part turned to stare in wonder at the blonde. This was the guy he beat. After all of the genin nodded, Zabuza continued. Too many passed the second part, so we will have a preliminary match before the final part of the exam. Anyone who wants to leave better do it now. A silver-haired kid from the first portion raised his hand and left after being dismissed. Anyone else? Good. Watch the board, it will show us our first fight. Zabuza thumbed over his shoulder at the giant board as it started flashing through names. When it stopped, Zabuza called out. Sasuke Uchiha and Yoroi Akado, please stay, the rest of you head up to the balcony and wait your turn. The rest of the genin slowly made their way up towards balcony. Naruto walked up to Zabuza. The swordman grinned. Hey kid, glad to see you made it through. Haku's up there with the Hokage. She wanted to watch you fight and the old man said it was okay. Naruto smiled and nodded, then left for the balcony. He saw Haku and his grin got even bigger. Naruto. Haku called out in joy, walking over to the blonde before wrapping him in a hug. I'm so glad you made it to the final round. She pulled away and smiled. Naruto tapped the hit-8 on her forehead and smirked. Hey. I'm a chunin so I outrank you, mister. Naruto rolled his eyes and just smiled. You better not make her mad, Master Naruto. Naruto peered around Haku and saw Ritsuko trotting over. He almost did a double take when he saw her. She was a good foot taller than when he last saw her. The blue on her paws now extended up to the middle of her legs. Her ears' color now bled into the top of her head, a strip of it running down her snout. The tips of her tail were faintly colored blue as well. All four of them. Naruto's mouth fell open. My lord has granted me yet another tail. I am very pleased myself. It usually takes a century to reach 4-tail status, but I have reached it in only 50 years. Naruto's jaw dropped even more. 50 may be old for you humans, but for a fox under my lord's rule, it is but a sliver of our total lifespan. Well, I am happy for you. Thank you, master. Shiki was jealous that I made 4 tails before he did, but it can't be helped. Since reaching this state, I have also discovered my elemental affinity. You have an elemental affinity now, correct? I am a water user. Don't you hate water? I did. Now I have a fondness for it. I believe that the match is starting now, we can discuss this later. Naruto turned back to the fighters as Zabuza was giving the signal to begin. Sasuke charged a larger boy, kunai in hand. He attempted a jab, but Yoroi dodged with surprising agility. Sasuke launched once again, but found himself trapped by Yoroi's arms. His chakra slowly left him. My ability allows me to absorb your chakra. You will pass out soon enough. Sasuke growled and tried to pull his way free, but Yoroi was stronger. Sasuke pulled one of his legs up and threw his leg back. It connected with Yoroi's leg with a sickening crack. He yelled out and loosened his grip slightly, but it was enough. Sasuke wiggled an arm free and pushed the boy off. Pain. Bikakyu. Sasuke shot the ball of fire at Yoroi. The boy stumbled out of the way, but burned his back and fell forward. Sasuke charged with a kunai and held it to the downed boy's neck. Winner is Sasuke Uchiha. Zabuza ushered over the medics as Sasuke took his place on the balcony. Hey Naruto. Naruto turned to see Ino walking over to him. He raised an eyebrow. Since when did Ino talk to him? What do you want with Master Naruto? Ritsuko sat defensively in front of Naruto, making Ino sweat a bit. Haku glared at the girl. I heard that you fought the Jounin down there while he was a missing nin and won. Technically that is true. Wow, you must be really strong. After this, do you want to go out on a date? Haku was fuming. Naruto tried his best to not roll his eyes, and Ritsuko growled lightly. The day you become a serious ninja is the day that Master Naruto will date you. You are just a little girl trying to play ninja. You focus on boys and your nails rather than train and become stronger. Your presence offends me, leave before I make you leave. Ino gasped at the fox's statement. Shino Aburam and Zaku Abumi, get down here. While the two genin made their way to the floor, Ino glared at the three and stomped away. Well, that was weird. Forget about her for now. Focus on the fights, you may face any of them in the finals if you make it through. Naruto nodded and stared down at the pair. Begin. Zabuza moved away from the two fighters. Shino sent a ball of bugs flying at Zaku. Zaku smirked and raised an arm and pointed it at the bugs. He fired a blast of something that made the bugs scatter. Naruto raised an eyebrow and glanced at Ritsuko for an answer. It was sound. That would explain the headband. Naruto nodded and turned back to the match. Shino was stoic as he sent forth a slightly larger wave of bugs. Zaku frowned and shot them down as well. You can't beat me, bug freak. Give up before I kill you. Shino raised an eyebrow and pointed behind Zaku. He turned to see a mass of bugs laying all around him on the floor. Zaku raised his other arm. I can just blow you both away now. He began his jutsu and nothing happened. His arms began to hurt. What happened? Before the match started, I sent out my bugs to hide on your body. When you used your jutsu the first time, they crawled inside your hands and plugged the holes. Zaku's face contorted in pain. The pressure was building, and before long, they burst. Zaku roared in pain. The medic rushed to take him away. Winner is Shino Aburam. Some applause came from the Konoha crowd. Shino walked quietly back up to the balcony, standing with his team. Everyone stared as the board began rolling through names once again. Tenkuro of the desert and Misumi Tsurugi, get down here. A sand ninja Naruto met earlier and an unknown ninja jumped down to the field. Begin. Master Naruto. The blonde drew his head away from the fight and faced Ritsuko. Yes. I spoke with the Hokage. We agreed upon a few things, so expect some changes after the prelims. What do you mean? Just wait for the announcement. I believe you will find life in the village better after today. Before Naruto could ask exactly what Ritsuko meant by that, he heard a sickening crack from below. He turned to see Kankuro, grasping what he assumed to be a puppet, standing over the body of Miss Yumi. Winner is Kankuro of the desert. As Kankuro made his way back to his teammates, Naruto caught eyes with the Hokage. They spelled regret and anticipation. The blonde looked at the board as it cycled through names once more. When he discovered who his parents were, he got angry. Not only at his father for doing what he did, but at the old man for hiding it. He knew the old man shouldn't be blamed, but the blonde couldn't help himself. All this time he grew up without any scrap of knowledge about who his parents were. He grew up in squalor, barely living day to day, and he was actually the son to one of the most famous ninja to ever live. Ino Yamanaka and Sakura Haruno, get down here now. Zabuza drawled on. This job was boring. He'd much rather be training of something, but the Hokage said it would promote trust and crap. Naruto raised a brow at the pairing. This would be interesting to see. Naruto, let's make a bet. Ino stood next to him. If I win this fight, you give up on Sakura and become my boyfriend. If you lose, Master Naruto wants you to stop jazzing Sasuke. Sasuke silently thanked Naruto for dealing with one of his fangirls. Ino smiled widely. Deal. She skipped down the stairs to meet Sakura in the center of the room. Begin. Naruto. The blonde leaned toward Sasuke. You know that Sakura can kick Ino's ass now, right? Especially after our training trip. I believe that was the point, Sasuke. Sasuke smirked at the fox. Nice. Ino started out making 3 clones and charging Sakura. Sakura took a deep breath and steadied herself. A clone lunged with a kunai, aiming at Sakura's stomach. Sakura gracefully sidestepped, swinging her leg to kick the clone in the back of the jeet. Dispelling it. The real Ino stopped in shock as Sakura systematically destroys her other 2 clones, not taking a single hit. How did you do that? Easy. Sakura smirked. I'm a ninja. Ino growled and threw her kunai, preparing her mind transfer jutsu. Sakura jumped over the kunai and began her own hahisens, finishing just before Ino. Sakura whispered. Harano Etsurin Beningu. Her chakra seeped into Ino's nervous system. Ino suddenly stopped her jutsu hand signs and looked around in a panic. What? How did I get here? She began to sweat profusely. Help. Help me. Sakura walked over and held a kunai to Ino's neck. Winner is Sakura Haruno. Sakura smiled happily and quickly dispelled the genjutsu. Ino blinked rapidly and looked around herself. I win, Ino. Ino's jaw dropped, but she grit her teeth and accepted that. They both walked back to the balcony. Remember, Ino, no more Sasuke. She jumped slightly at the voice of the fox, but started to complain about how unfair the bet was. Ritsuko growled, which shut Ino up. Naruto grinned and turned to face the board. Himari of the Sand and Tenten, get down, you know what? If I'm going to do this any longer, I'm going to do it my own way. Get your asses down here now, Genin. The Hokage raised an eyebrow at Zabuza's outburst, but chuckled. The prelims could always use a twist. The 2 girls quickly flew down to their starting posts, not wanting to irritate the former missing nin further. From now on, you will make these fights interesting. I'm bored. He growled a bit to make his point clear. Now begin. It took the girls all of 3 seconds to realize that the fight had started before Tenten made the first move. She jumped high into the air, unfurling one of her scrolls, being her rotation. A series of shuriken and kunai rained down towards Temari. Temari flicked the battle fan in her back open, calling forth her chakra and blowing the weapons aside. Tenten silently cursed at the wind user. Before she landed, Temari fired another wind attack at Tenten, throwing her high into the air, smashing against the ceiling. Her descent was swift, landing directly to Temari's now closed battle fan. Lee jumped out into the arena, reaching for Tenten's battered form. A streak of white shot past him, stopping underneath of Tenten. She thumped softly onto the back of the fox. Lee looked surprised, as did many of the spectators. Ritsuko growled at Temari, shocking the girl slightly. You're an honorless beast. She gave her best and you treated her like dirt. Pray that we will not face each other in the finals. The fox kept up her growl as the medics began to rush towards the injured combatant. Winner is Teamer Yosh. That was a most youthful speech, Lady Ritsuko. Your flames of youth burn brightly. Lee could not hold in his delight any longer, interrupting the jounin. Zabuza, for one, was stunned. What exactly was that thing in the green and why was it shouting about youth? The Mari of the Sand. He shook his head and cleared it for the next fight. He could deal with the green-suited thing later. The board flashed through the remaining names. Shikamaru Nara and Kintsuchi. The 2 fighters slowly made their way to the arena. Begin. Kin threw a kunai at Shikamaru, which he dodged. She threw several shuriken at him. Shikamaru jumped out of the way, surprising several of the ninja present that he could move that fast. Kin prepared the next wave of weapons as Shikamaru began hand signs. When he finished, his shadow shot forward, connecting to Kin's shadow. She froze as Shikamaru stood up. Hajime. Shikamaru smirked as he walked away from Kin. She stepped back in time with him. If my shadow connects with yours, all of your movements copy mine exactly, until I run out of chakra or I release the jutsu. He took a few more steps back. You should give up. Like hell I will. Kin spat at Shikamaru. He sighed. Well, this will hurt you more than it will hurt me. Before Kin could ask what he meant, he threw himself backwards, holding himself up with his hands. Kin smacked her head against the wall behind her, passing out. Winner is Shikamaru Nara. Konoha clapped for Shikamaru and his interesting win. As the board spun, Shikamaru made his way to the balcony. Kiba Inuzuka and Naruto Uzumaki come on. Naruto made his way down the stairs, Kiba following closely behind. All eyes were on the blonde and his fox. The boy was the enigma of the generation. Before he graduated, he was the dead last, the one you expected nothing good from. Now he has a summoning contract and is in the bingo book. He was certainly the one to be careful of here. The two took their positions, companions beside them. Begin. Zabuza steps back, knowing that Naruto can be destructive. Don't make it too easy for me, Naruto. Kiba dropped to all fours, beginning his first technique. Naruto disappeared in a flash of speed, kicking Akamaru off of Kiba's back. Akamaru. Kiba cried out to his companion as he hit the wall. He turned back to Naruto ready to attack. Ritsuko traded places with Naruto quickly after the attack. Suiton. Suryu. A jet of water shot forward from Ritsuko's mouth, forcing Kiba back from its pressure. Naruto began hind signs while Ritsuko had Kiba busy. Gyuden. Amway K's. A fierce gust of wind blew forth, pushing down on Kiba, forcing him to kneel. The blonde drew his blades and rushed forth. Kiba soon found himself drenched with a knife at his neck and at his chest. Kiba formed a small grin. I forfeit. Naruto returned the grin and offered a hand to Kiba. Once on his feet, Kiba and Naruto began their walk back to the balcony. Winner is Naruto Uzumaki. The Jounin instructors were astonished by his performance. He was quick, efficient, and had both water and wind techniques to use. Not to mention he hasn't even used his summoning contract yet. If he managed to gain another affinity, he would become an exceptional Jounin. The board spun through the remaining names as Naruto took a seat next to Haku. I'm glad you won, Naruto. Naruto gave her a smile and a thumbs up, agreeing with her. You really did a number on my student, Naruto. The blonde turned slightly to see a red-eyed lady staring down at him. I'm Kiba's Jounin instructor, Yuhi Kurenai. Naruto nodded out of respect. What is it you request of Master Naruto? Kurenai raised an eyebrow at the fox's slightly rude tone, but dismissed it. Nothing in particular, but I was curious as to how he became as fast as he is. Inuzukas are notorious for their speed, but Naruto completely outclassed Kiba. Master Naruto undergoes a special type of training that no one else can perform. High strain is put on his body for several hours a day, followed by normal training. Do you doubt others' ability as ninjas? Kurenai was confused by the statement. No, I doubt your ability as humans. If you were to do the training Master Naruto does for one day, you would be hospitalized for several days. Kurenai was about to make a remark when Zabuza called down the next combatants. Niji Hyuga and Hinata Hyuga, come down here. Kurenai left quickly to speak with her student before letting her go down to the arena. She stood across from her cousin, who glared at her fiercely. Begin. Hinata moved into her family's taijutsu stance. Niji just stood still, glaring at her. Give up, Hinata, you cannot win. Fate has already decreed me the winner. Hinata trembled but tried to stand firm. We won't know until the match is over. You're weak. Hinata flinched at the voice. You have always been weak and will always be so. You cannot beat me. He took the Jukin stance. This is your last chance to give up. When Hinata didn't immediately forfeit, Niji took it as a sign to attack. He rushed at Hinata with speed, striking her arm. She stumbled back and began to straighten her pose. Niji struck again. A few minutes went by, Niji landing blow after blow. Hinata looked tired and ready to drop. She dodged his next hit and managed to connect with his shoulder, surprising everyone, including herself. Niji looked on in hate and lashed out once again, striking her hard enough to send her to the ground. He murked as Hinata lay there, but frowned when she tried to stand up. Why do you try so hard to go against fate? Hinata trembled as she got to her feet. I don't believe in fate. If I work hard enough I can beat you. Niji growled at her defiance towards his belief. He lashed out, intent on striking her chest, when three Jounin stood in his way. Kurenai directly in front of Hinata, kunai in hand. Anko had a kunai at his throat. Kakashi had his hands together in a hand sign. Winner by default is Niji Hyuga. The Jounin separated, allowing Niji to go back to the balcony and the medics to take Hinata. Everyone took a breath as the tension faded, bringing their attention back to the board. Rock Lee and Gaara of the desert, get down here. Lee jumped off the railing, yelling about youth, while Gaara used Shunshin to make his way to the arena. Begin. Lee flashed towards Gaara, jumping up and throwing his leg at him, intent on a kick to the head. When sand shot out of the gourd on his back and blocked the strike, Lee jumped back. This would be a rough fight. Several minutes into combat, Lee was dodging the sand attacks from Gaara, trying to get a hit in edgewise. He had already removed his weights and was nearing his limit. Lee. The boy turned to see his sensei grinning at him. I give you permission to use it. But Guy-sensei. It is okay, Lee. You need it to beat your opponent. He steeled his face and placed his hands together, positioning himself closer to the floor with a wider stance. You didn't. Kakashi turned to his fellow jounin. I did. Kakashi. He will kill himself if he uses that. Lee was currently red, screaming in what appeared to be pain. He flashed out of sight, striking Gaara in the chest before disappearing, only to reappear behind Gaara and hit him once more. The room was astonished at the boy's speed. Gaara winced each time a fist or foot made contact with his body. He couldn't do anything like this. Now to finish this. Lee shot to the ground and aimed a kick from underneath the sand ninja. He repeatedly kicked him further into the air, slowly approaching the ceiling. He wrapped Gaara in his wrist bandages and begun his spiral to the ground. Final Lotus. The impact shook the arena and caused a crater to form in the center of it. Once the smoke cleared, Lee was kneeling, breathing erratically, next to a shriveled husk of his opponent. Lee, thinking he had killed his opponent, began to worry. Unknown to him, Gaara had appeared behind him. The sand trapped Lee quickly, holding him up by his arm and leg. Desert coffin. The sand crushed the appendages mercilessly, spurting blood out onto the floor. Lee pulled himself away from the sand ninja, dragging his body along the ground. The sand quickly approached the prone competitor. Suddenly, the sand dispersed, revealing Guy with an expressionless look on his face. My student forfeits. He will be killed if he continues. Winner is Gaara of the desert. The room was silent as the medics rushed to get Lee attention. Naruto turned to Ritsuko. He felt familiar. He should. He is the container for the one-tail, Shukaku. You're one and the same. That is concerning. How so? I think that I could have easily ended up the same way he did. Filled with bloodlust and a need for killing. Yes, you are fortunate that my lord favors you. Favors me? We don't really get along that well. He is very lax on you as far as containers are concerned. Many others would have been driven mad by his mere presence at this point. I see. Well, if he gives me my voice back, I'll take back calling him a jerk. Winner is Dosu Kanuta. Naruto turned back to the match that just finished, Chaoji huffing slightly. Now will all winners please come down here. The winners of the preliminaries made their way to the floor. Everyone draw a number. This will let us know who your opponent is in the finals. Each genin stepped forward and free a number from the box they were presented. I got 2. 9. I have 3. 10. 4. 7 over here. 6. I am number 8. 1. Number 5. Zabuza began writing names down on a small board. The finals will be a single elimination style tournament. These are your opponents. He flipped the board to show the genin. Match 1. Niji Hyuga vs Dosu Kanuta. Match 2. Kakuro of the Desert vs Shino Aburam. Match 3. Tamari of the Desert vs Shikamaru Nara. Match 4. Naruto Uzumaki vs Sakura Haruno. Match 5. Sasuke Uchiha vs Gaara of the Desert. The finals will be held in 1 month. This will allow you to rest and crap. Learn some new stuff and plan for your opponent's style. That's it. Zabuza nodded to the Hokage. The old man stood and cleared his throat. Congratulations to all who are proceeding to the finals. Good luck to you. To our foreign competitors, you may stay in Konoha for the duration of the month or you may travel back home, whichever you prefer. Before we conclude this portion of the exam, I would like to make an announcement. Naruto. The Hokage turned to face the blonde. These years have not been kind to you. I am entirely to blame for that. I wish to make it up to you. Please accept this. He tossed a glistening item through the air. Naruto caught it and turned it over to show a set of keys. He looked up in confusion. Those are the keys to the Namikaze estate. The jaw drop in the room was collective. Your birthright. Silence. What?